Testing, can you guys hear me? Okay, can someone say something so I can
Yeah.
speak?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you very much.
The matrix is broken.
Sorry, guys, we have a very slight delay. It'll be like 5:32 or 5:33 when we start. My apologies. Christina. Oh. Oh, here. Yep. Yes. Sounds keeping Christine good on. You can go ahead and get started. It's already quorum online. Yeah. I just want everybody that we'd start 2 or 3 minutes late, so it's okay. Easy busy. It's just that time of year, just. Or I want it. All right. Thank you for your patience. I'd like to call the regular. Somebody's down still. Oh.
Maybe I'm not.
Okay. All right. Let's try this again. Like to call the regular meeting of the Rapid City Board of Education to order at 5:32 p.m. And especially since we have a member online, all of our votes and everything will be by roll call tonight. So Sheila, can you give me a roll call, please?
Troy Carr.
Here.
Jamie Clapham.
Here.
Christine Stephenson.
Here.
Donna Moore.
Here.
Michael Brickland.
Here.
Walt Swan is absent without notice. Katie Urban. Here.
All right, we have the Professor Randy Brock here for the invocation tonight. If you could come to the microphone and please make sure it's on so we can hear you. Oh, I'll say Sheila, my.
Thank you, my dear. Okay. All right, shall we pray? Father, there is truly no more important prayer that we pray than for our children. And we pray, Lord God, that you would be in this place today and that, God, you'd guide every decision. And that, Father God, everything that we do would bring glory to you. We thank you for the great gift that you've given to us. And I pray blessing upon these parents and all that have gathered, Lord Jesus, for our kids. And so we pray your blessing upon it in Jesus' name. Amen.
And now I'd request that everyone stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
President Carr, I do see your hand. Do you?
Yes, I wanted to make sure for the record, I thought I heard that Walt was recorded absent without notice. Okay, he did give notice that he wasn't going to be at the meeting tonight, so I'd like that amended to reflect that he, and I apologize, I sent it to Shirley, and Sheila, I will get your number when I get back to have emailed you also.
All right. Thank you very much, President Carr. So now we move on to the approval of the proposed agenda. Are there any additions or changes or amendments any board member needs to make?
Yes. So under 12B, IGBB-P, the wrong attachment got attached. And so rather than try to figure that out right now, I would motion to remove that from the agenda now, and then we'll put it on a later agenda with the correct attachment. So
right,
I
so
motion to approve with the removal of 12B.
Okay, so it has been motioned to approve the proposed agenda with the removal of 12B. Is there a second?
I second.
All right, I think Christine seconded first. So we have, it has been motioned and seconded for the proposed agenda to be approved with item 12 be removed. Sheila, may I have a roll call, please?
Troy Carr.
Yes.
Jamie Clapham.
Yes.
Christine Stephenson.
Yes.
Donna Moore.
Yes.
Michael Berglund.
Yes.
Katie Urban. Yes.
All right.
6-0.
Motion carries 6-0. We will move forward with the approved agenda to one of my favorite parts of the meeting, the Sherry of Success. I will turn it over to Dr. Strasser.
Good evening, board. We have several sharing the success tonight. So to start things off, we're going to introduce some Stevens High School students. So I'm going to ask them to come forward right up here, and then I'm going to say a couple things before I really turn it over to them. So come on up. So as they fill in here, after an application process, the student employees of the Stevens Raider Coffee House that you see here were selected by the South Dakota Department of Education to present the Raider Coffee House at an annual state teachers conference in March. Students delivered an inspiring presentation titled Brewing Success, Empowering Students Through a High School Work Experience. Their goal was to teach the teachers and encourage other schools to implement similar hands-on opportunities for their students. Their preparation, hard work, and enthusiasm clearly shone through, leaving a strong impression on attendees. The presentation was very well received, and as a testament to its impact, personnel from another school visited Stevens for a firsthand look at the Raider Coffee House in action. We are incredibly proud of how these students represented our school and our school district and the program of the Raider Coffee House. So I'm gonna step over and There we go.
Good evening, President Carr and student board members.
We are some of the student employees from the Stevens Raider Coffee House. We would like to thank you for inviting us tonight. Share with success.
On March 19th, we gave a presentation at a state teachers conference called Brewing Success, Empowering Students Through a High School Work Experience. We wanted to teach the teachers and encourage them to start a coffee house at the schools.
We were definitely nervous and excited. Miss Bias told us we had been chosen. She thinks we were at the first students to do a presentations at this conference.
We made a slideshow that explains how we won our coffee house. We practiced in front of other classes and made improvements. We put a lot of work into it. We became more confident and were not so nervous.
We know we achieved our goal because at the conference, people told us they were impressed with the presentation, and one school came to see how we run things. They are opening their own coffee house next year. It was fun and we had a great time. We gave it our best effort and we are proud of ourselves. We want to thank staff and students at Stevens for their support and encouragement.
It was fun. We had a good time, great time. We gave our best effort and we are proud of ourselves. We want to thank the staff and students at the Stevens for their support and encouragement.
We have a coupon for each of you that is good for a delicious complimentary drink at the Raider Coffee House. We're open from 8:30 to 8:15 every morning. We're open until May 16th. You can use the coupon this year or next year. We hope you can come see us.
All right. Thank you. We're gonna get a nice, get a picture here. And yeah, let's,
Yes, any parents or anyone who wants to get pictures, please feel free to move wherever you need to move in the room to get a great picture.
yeah. You're welcome to be part of it.
And before you guys go, We have a couple board members who have work for you, and I think we have one more parent who wants to take a picture. Nope, you're good. Okay, Miss Urban.
All right. Thank you so much, guys, for representing Rapid City area schools so well at the conference. That is really exciting, and I'm super excited to come get some coffee. And it was open until May 16th. What time again?
8:30 to 9:15 every morning.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
And we have one more, President Carr.
I think Mr. Berkland was up too, actually.
Apologies, it's blocked in my screen. My apologies. Mr. Berkland first, then President Carr. My apologies.
Well, he's technically first, but whatever, I'll go. Thank you, Ms. Bias, for inviting me to see you guys at the conference. I was able to go there for a little bit and you guys did amazing. I've presented at a conference and I had like 5 people at mine, and I know how nerve-wracking that was, and that was a packed house for you guys. So I'm just wanting to say I'm so proud of you for putting this together and for presenting on this. Thank you.
President Carr.
I am so excited for you all and the presentation, and the excitement that I have is so great that I don't even drink coffee, but I'm going to pick one of these mornings before the 16th. And if I don't drink a cup myself, I'll buy someone a cup of coffee. Congratulations. And thank you so much for spreading the good news of Rapid City area schools so that other schools are wanting to duplicate what you do. Again, congratulations.
Oh, I think somebody has a comment for you. They have tea. Okay, so problem solved.
Yeah.
They have tea?
And
Okay,
Italian
I'm going to
sodas.
drink a cup
Oh,
of tea. That I'll do.
yes, all right. Thank you guys so much. We're extremely proud of you and all excited to come have drinks. All right, our next sharing of success will be the Youth Task Force presentation.
All right, I'm going to turn this over to Ms. Kiner for this part.
I want to thank you guys for inviting us to come here. We are very honored to be here. I'm Cannon Booth. I am the chair of the Youth Task Force. I go to Stevens High School.
Hi, my name's Lady King. I am the co-chair of the Youth Task Force along with the YAP coordinator from the Circle.
So diving in first here, we wanted to recognize that housing insecurity affects everyone, whether that is youth or adults, and within our community as well. It's kind of like that stigma, right? When you think of homeless or a homeless person, you kind of think of like an adult or something like that living on the streets. That's really not the case here, especially in Rapid City. We have a lot of homeless individuals or housing insecure individuals that are students and that are kids. So like me, I go to Stevens, and I mean, I don't know like everyone's backgrounds, but like I know a couple people that are living in a type of a housing insecure environment. And what that means in a nutshell is they're either couch, so they might not be like actual fully homeless living on the streets with nothing. Housing insecure means that they don't have like a full foundation of a home. So like they're either couch surfing or they're lacking the basic food and necessities and hygiene items and all the stuff that is usually offered and things like that. So that's why we kind of want to spread awareness, especially to see like how big of a problem that this is facing us today in our community and in our school district. And approximately 560 RCIS kids ranging K through 12 have been deemed housing insecure. And one of the things that we are doing to tackle this is just making a whole collaborative effort here within the Youth Task Force and a bunch of other nonprofit businesses to tackle this issue.
There's 1 week in January where the point in time counts does start. That means that there's only 138 unaccompanied youth/young adults. This means that there's no help from parents or grandparents. And that is 1 week out of all the entire year that these young adults actually get counted for. And that's how we determine our state funding as well.
So yeah, like I previously mentioned, what we're doing as youth in our community is we recognize that it's a problem. And like for me and a couple of my friends, I got involved and me advocating for this. I haven't actually fully experienced what it's like to be housing insecure, to not having a roof over my head or not having food on the table. And the way I wanted to go about that is not just saying like, hey, it's a problem and then not doing anything about it. What I wanted to do is actually get involved in my community and do something to tackle this issue and actually help out people that are experiencing this. And that kind of came to me about 3 months after I got into it, because I'm going to be honest, my freshman year, I first got involved in the community and first started going to community events because I thought it was going to be good to build my college resume and things like that. But then after about the first 3 months and after I met Kristen Kiner back here, I kind of realized the change I was doing and the people I was helping. And then, that itself is priceless. That's why I was I'm definitely advocating for getting people to volunteer, getting people to show up to events and getting people to really get involved in the community here, because we can really see the impact, whether you're from all backgrounds, whether you've experienced it yourself, then you can it's just even better because you can coordinate with the kids that are not on a firm foundation yet, and you can talk about your experiences and compare to their experiences, and it kind of all can just go on and on and on and help out so many people. So that's why when we collaborate with the Youth Task Force in particular, what we have done is we've created this link tree thing, and we made a QR code for it. And what we did was we went through all of the different types of organizations and things like that, like McKinney-Vento. I don't have it pulled up right now. I'm really bad about remembering that, and that's my bad. But there's a bunch of different organizations, things like that. If you're lacking housing, or if you want to talk to a counselor or hygiene products or food insecurities, there's a bunch of different things on there and how you can get in contact with people to get the basic necessities that you need. And we worked on that for about a year, and I think we published the beginning of last year during the school year, and we got a lot of people. That helped out a lot of people. We got a lot of people to scan those QR codes. We got these little stickers, and we handed those out everywhere. And we also organized this thing called the Glow Walk as well, is where we all dressed up in green as the Youth Hope Month, which stands for housing outreach, prevention, and education. And what we did was we spread awareness by going and essentially just walking all around downtown here to really spread awareness and get other people involved in it, and kind of explain what the difference is between homeless and housing insecure or anything like that, and kind of what we do. And I will hand it over to Alita for the YAB.
Good. So as I said, I'm the Youth Action Board Coordinator. And in 2020, the YAB was created as to have lived experience and housing insecurity and to be part of the solution, which over a year ago, I was homeless. And now I am the YAB coordinator working for an independent project. With that, they have done some amazing work. With the Youth Homeless Demonstration Project grant application, they were awarded a little over $3 million. And with regular attendance for the 4.5 years that it's been ongoing, we get an annual 1.4 million annually.
Go ahead, Ms. Stevenson, that's a question.
What organization, so you get 1.1 million annually in federal grants, or?
So we get 1.4 annually through the Youth Homeless Demonstration Project.
Okay.
And that's awarded to the Youth Action Board,
And is
which
that-
it's
where is
not
that
just
spent?
one project. It's multiple youth coming together, and we get to help distribute the funds as well, depending on where we feel it needs to be fit to help the homeless or the youth age.
And that's here, or Western
In
South
Rapid
Dakota?
City,
In
yes.
Rapid City?
In Western, yes.
Western South, that's incredible.
Full South
Full
Dakota,
South
sorry.
Dakota. That's still, it's really,
Yeah.
and the youth get to decide where it would help youth the most.
Yes, majority of, yes.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Thanks.
Then one quick thing I forgot to mention this about the Youth Action Board. It is consisted of individuals from all backgrounds for sure, because we want all that, or they wanted all that diversity. I'm unfortunately not in it. But you know what there are, there's individuals that have experienced homelessness, that have experienced what it's like to literally be living on the streets or couch surfing or not having a firm foundation. And then there's also individuals that have like kind of those basic necessities and kind of grew up in a home where they are given those type of things. And so then they're able to get both diverse points of views and when they go about doing all that. And I've heard a lot of amazing things about the YAB. And we work with the youth task force. We coordinate very closely with the YAB and a few individuals from that. And definitely everything we do is we coordinate and definitely get a good outcome there. Speaking of the next slide. There we go.
All right. I think Ms. Stevenson has another question.
Yeah, so the youth task force, is that a part of?
No.
But it's
So
just
yeah,
called the
it's
task force?
it's kind of, yeah, so what we have, we are under the umbrella of the Black Hills Regional Homeless Coalition.
Okay.
That's right, I had to look at that because they recently changed their name and it's like kind of going back and forth there. But yeah, so we have that as like the whole umbrella, and then the youth task force is like a branch off of that. And what essentially like what it's been a thing for almost like 15 years ish. It's been here for a long time. And what we do is we specifically target youth to come and join in for our meetings and just to coordinate a bunch of different events and awareness things and just try to help out lower those numbers of housing insecure individuals in our community.
And so how many Rhapsody students are involved in the youth task force, do you think?
So it kind of jumps around a little bit. I think it's about 3-ish that come up to like most of our meetings. And then at the beginning of the year, it's like, it's a requirement for certain community service hours. So we get like 1 or 2 meetings, we'll have like 10 youth or 15 youth come in. And then, but they have to go there because like they have to be there and things like that. And we try to get them to stay. We always send out every monthly reminders to them via email. Like our mailing list is like probably over 100 people long. Try to get those individuals to come back. But yeah, so we have about 2 or 3 that are fully committed and come to there, and yeah, graduates, and for sure.
Well, that's super cool. Thank you for sharing the good work.
Of course, of course.
All right. The McKinney Vento program, we work closely with them at the circle. This could be even the shoes that we have for donations. We do work with the students that do come in and drop in, where our services also provide food, clothing, etc., hygiene products.
And then just as well as McKinney Vento, we also coordinate with Wellfleet, Wamblyska, and a couple other places like YFS. Yeah, my bad. With YFS, and for example, like we are trying to coordinate and work on a hike for housing event. So right now it's in the makings. We are gonna essentially meet all at Central and get a bunch of youth from the NDN, Wellfleet, and just all over the district here and publicize that a bunch. And what we want to do is just we're gonna hike up Bear Butte as a housing awareness project. And like I said, we're just kicking it off. It's gonna be August 14th, 16th, 14th. And yeah, right, we're coordinating with Wellfleet, Wamblyska, and a bunch of other YFS and the NDN to get a bunch of people there, and also coordinating with the Journey on Steps program as well to provide transportation and lunch and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, definitely kind of like that intramural and that collection and collective effort between all the organizations here is, because in Rapid City, we are a very tight-knit group and a very tight-knit community, especially when it comes to helping out housing insecure individuals that I've learned about and seen the firsthand things. So yeah, we're with all of the collective efforts from Rapid City and its different organizations. We kind of all come together and do awesome events like this hike for housing that we're putting on right now. Any questions?
So I don't have questions, if anyone else does, that's right, but I just wanted to say, you guys are incredibly impressive. There are so many adults who couldn't even wrap their head around what you guys are doing. And I can see your passion and your sincerity in what you do. And that's incredible. I appreciate what you're doing for our community, what you're doing for other students. Thank you. Thank you so much. And as hard as it is when those 3 people's up, don't lose your fire. Keep that fire, because you guys and these students that come every week, you're what reminds me that the world's gonna be okay. Because you guys are out there, the world is gonna be okay. So thank you so much for everything that you are doing.
Thanks so much for having us today.
And Mr. Berkman has.
I do. I echo what Jamie said. First off, can you go back to that previous slide? Whoever's running it. Maybe not. There we go. The considerations for future support. Can you tell me more about the flexibility in school scheduling? Is that like different hours, or it's okay if the answer is no and you need to get back to me later?
Maybe. Yeah.
So, perfect.
Okay, well, so I'm going to jump in here because I do know that at the different youth task force meetings and also with the Homeless Coalition, that is something that has been brought up. And I know Lolita, being at the circle, I do know that there are some students that the traditional structure of school during the day, 7:30 to 3:30, doesn't necessarily work best for them. And so I do know that when you stop into the circle, there's education that's going on at 6 o'clock at night with tutors and adult mentors and Lolita helping out. And so sometimes I think if we can look at education a little different, some people will get to that finish line. And so that's just from the conversations at the meetings. So would you agree with that, Lolita?
I definitely would, yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And I hope that, I know there's a lot of logistics in that, but it would be great if we could, as a district, support something along those lines as well. But I don't want to put that on anyone right now because that's it's a heavy lift. But I do appreciate you bringing forth the idea, and I appreciate everything that you guys have done thus far. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, let the favorite part of the meeting continue. We now have our Above and Beyond presented by the Rapid City Public School Foundation.
All right. And Sarah Hornick is here on behalf of the Public School Foundation. So.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm the Executive Director of the Rapid City Public School Foundation. And yes, it's sharing success, but I feel like I get to share so much joy throughout the district. I feel like I have the best job ever. So today we had this is actually the sponsor of the program today from All Metal Manufacturing and the chair of our Above and Beyond committee. And with their support, we were able to go surprise 40 staff across the school district with $50 cash prizes. And it ranged from, I went through the list, teachers, counselors, building and ground staff, literacy teachers, special education teachers, social workers, secretaries, interventionists, culinary specialists, paraprofessionals, librarian, youth engagement coordinators, and nurses. So this was like, I don't know how many buildings we've done before, but we got to go visit 40 different staff in 26 different locations today. So it was so much fun. When our first one of the day, she was bawling. I'm just bawling. She is a long-term substitute nurse that's been working in the special ed department. And I mean, just tears. And then we had people screaming. It was like, and then you have students cheering. It's like we get to share the success of the teachers, I feel like today. And just for time's sake, the 40 winners, we're gonna email out to you guys. The Rapid City Post has already actually posted a story about it. And it'll be on our website and our social media as well. But we had hundreds and hundreds of cards show up. And another idea that Gretchen and I have for the fall, because we'll do another round about mid-November, is we're going to have kind of a contest of which school is going to turn in the most Above and Beyond cards and have a prize for them as well. Because some schools consistently have the best ideas. We got a bunch of ideas today going around of how they're going to do billboards and put them on classroom doors. And, secretaries at the beginning of the year put Above and Beyond cards in everybody's boxes. And we have a lot of feedback, like, could we do email? But there is something super special about taking those comment cards, reading them out loud and handing them to people that it would be a hard sell for, I think, our committee. But I wanted to share, Gretchen as our chair, why she does what she does. So I would like her to speak next.
Thank you. Yeah, today it's just an amazing experience every time and even now I'm still kind of emotional. But my husband, Tim, and I were both raised in Rapid City. We were educated through the Rapid City education. Our children were, and now our oldest daughter her children are now in the school system as well. So it's near and dear to my heart. This is an awesome community. And I just get so excited about our teachers and our administrative staff and everyone who jumps in as a team and all of these professionals that were awarded today. So that's why I do what I do. That's why I've enjoyed being part of this board and part of what it does, because it's amazing. I think we have excellent educators and we have great students who are gonna lead this future, and it's exciting to me. So I'm proud to be able to, my husband and I are both proud to be able to sponsor this and have it be such a positive and great experience. So it's a very fulfilling day.
I wanted to share one more story. Sometimes, you think about the kindergarten teachers and the nurses that are so, nurturing or whatever. And probably one of the favorite stops I made today was actually at Buildings and Grounds. And one of the staff was actually not feeling well, was going to take a sick day. And then it was, we had a freeze that morning, and he was so worried about the students that he came in to make sure that the ground was sanded and the kids would be safe. So it's like, it reaches so wide in our district about keeping these kids safe and what's best for them, that it was such a joy to be able to read these comment cards and get to really realize that there's so much nurturing and love going on in the school district, and we just happen to be the ones that get to go share it. So again, I had the best job ever.
Thank you, ladies, so much. Ms. Urban?
Gretchen, just a huge thank you for your generosity for you and Tim. I think and I'm glad you got to be a part of it and see sort of the fruits of what you donated. I'm so grateful for the foundation, because without it, we wouldn't have these great moments. And I'm sure that none of these staff members will forget today. It seems like a small gesture, but in the big scheme of things, it's huge. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, thank you guys so much. And I have to agree, I understand the email, but I will tell you, I have a notebook and I call it my smile notebook. And I have cards that are 20 or 25 years old that I have kept. And some days I really need them. And so I think those paper and that handwriting is so special. And so thank you so much for all you do. And thank you for your generosity. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank everyone for their patience. We are now on to open forum. We have 3 open forum speakers, so everyone does have their allotted 5 minutes. And our first speaker is Florence Thompson.
Thank you, board. My name is Florence Thompson. I'm president of South Dakota Parents Involved in Education. And I'm also a retired school psychologist with over 40 years experience in the schools as a psychologist. Tonight, I'd like to read from an article by Norman Woods of Family Voice. This was published by Family Voice. I'm not sure how widely it was published, but it's available. And this was April 28th, 2025. The DOJ, Department of Justice, to investigate doctors who exploit and mutilate children through trans surgeries. Earlier this week, Attorney General Pam Bondi sent a memorandum to the Department of Justice, DOJ employees, declaring in no uncertain terms that medical practitioners who exploit and mutilate children through transgender surgeries will be held accountable under law. The announcement follows in the footsteps of Trump's executive order affirming that there are only 2 genders, male and female, and another establishing that the United States will not fund, sponsor, promote, assist, or support the so-called transition of a child from one sex to another. It will rigorously enforce all laws that prohibit or limit these destructive and altering procedures. Bondi's memo is a step toward fulfilling that important promise. The Department of Justice will not sit by idly while doctors motivated by ideology, profits, or both exploit and mutilate our children. Under my watch, the department will act decisively to protect our children and hold accountable those who mutilate them under the guise of care, Bondi's memo stated. Pursuant to the President's directive, I am issuing the following guidance to all Department of Justice employees to enforce rigorous protections and hold accountable those who prey on vulnerable children and their parents. Another part of the article, Bondi declared that the DOJ will investigate and hold accountable medical providers and pharmaceutical companies that mislead the public about the long-term side effects of chemical and surgical mutilations. The memo instructed the Office of Legal Affairs to draft legislation creating a private right to action for children and parents of children whose healthy body parts have been damaged by medical professionals through chemical and surgical mutilation. The Trump administration also recently directed scientists at the National Institute of Health to study the regret among detransitioners, both child and adult. Although this refers to medical procedures, we have had in Rapid City schools and across our state affirming policies that really could land the staff and the districts into difficulty. So I think a review of these programs is in order. Thank you.
Yeah, our next speaker will be William Wagner.
I must congratulate those young leaders with their conscientious leadership and their situational leadership with the housing problem in our city. Because of them, that's why I'm here again. I first came here on August 13th of 2024 and fired y'all using the South Dakota Constitution, Article 12, subsection 3. I've done a whole lot more research on that. And actually, I got some information here about that constitutional law and y'all giving yourselves raises during an active contract, the new superintendent giving yourself a raise with your contract. Key legal concepts applied, no retroactive raises or adjustments. Raises or added compensation cannot be granted after a contract has already been executed or services already rendered. The board is under an active contract. Any attempt to raise their own pay while that contract is still active is constitutionally prohibited. Number 2, self-dealing or conflict of interest. School board members are fiduciaries and public officers. If they vote to raise their own compensation without lawful procedure, like waiting for the term to end, that could constitute self-dealing, which courts often find void or voidable. Breach of contract, number 3. And public trust. If they are operating under a budget or salary schedule approved by voters or set by statute, then unilaterally changing that compensation may also breach statutory budget laws or public finance restrictions. Conclusion, if the school board gave themselves a raise during an active contract without proper process, especially midterm, it's likely unconstitutional under Article 12, subsection 3, void or voidable due to illegality or self-dealing, and potentially actionable by taxpayers or oversight bodies. I'm a taxpayer. Also, I'm a documented American national. My allegiance is to the state of South Dakota, not state of South Dakota. It's South Dakota, the state, which is our domicile where we live. Our children are in these buildings, like I mentioned, Robbinsdale Elementary. They have measurers with levels, finding out how much the cracks are cracking, how much the walls are leaning over, and y'all are worried about y'all damn paychecks. The air conditioners, the heaters. Y'all are supposed to be leaders. Y'all are supposed to be representing all our students and all our people, and I caught y'all. It's game over. Y'all been done since August 13th. You know, like Trump says, Central Casting, that's what I see. You know, y'all have lawyers on hand that y'all could check this out before y'all move and make these kind of decisions. So I think I will be sending a public notice to y'all. We'll do this right, due process, kind of like what I'm asking y'all, what y'all should have done getting y'all raises. It's due process. Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is Tyresha Greyhorse. I hope I pronounced your first name correctly.
Yes, no, you did. Yeah, it's definitely like said the way it shows, but yes, thank you so much. Yes, so good evening, board members and people in the audience. My name is Tyresha Greyhorse, and I am a mother of 2 students at General Beadle Elementary School, and also the chair of the Office of Indian Education Title VI Parent Advisory Committee. I myself was born and raised here in Rapid City, attending Norwood Elementary School, North Middle School, and graduating from Stevens High School. I began my career as a 6th grade teacher at the very same middle school I attended. I recently bought a lovely home, and I'm so grateful my children can walk to school. I say all this to demonstrate how deeply committed and connected to this community I am, most importantly, to our Indigenous families and students. This evening, the community will hear about this district's next steps regarding the Office of Civil Rights complaints brought to the school district last year. To add some background knowledge, the complaint provided unequivocal evidence of the inequitable way that Indigenous students have been educated in RCAS, specifically in 3 areas: truancy, student discipline, and access to advanced learning opportunities. The resolution agreement the district entered into has been railroaded by a federal administration that is dead set on attacking minority and underprivileged students and families. Having been a teacher in this district, I've had the firsthand privilege of working with the most talented and compassionate educators. I understand that no single person can be blamed for what the complaint found. Unfortunately, this problem is much deeper and is on a systemic level. No specific person is the problem. In saying that, every staff member and school board member has an ethical responsibility to say enough is enough. The system has failed Native families in this district for long enough. In fact, there are currently 3,948 self-identified Native American students currently enrolled in RCAS. In a district containing 12,259 students, that's 32% of the student body. I urge the board and all staff of the district to read the report that was put together by the Stakeholder Equity Committee. Listening to the stories that families are telling, do not shy away from the uncomfortable truths or the taboo words that federally funded institutions, including school districts from across the country, are being forced to erase from their materials. While I have the honor of serving on the Parent Advisory Committee for the Office of Indian Ed, the treatment and education of Indigenous students is every staff member of RCAS's responsibility. I have the belief that the staff and administrators of this district want to do right. I have seen evidence of this. Walk into any school building and you can feel the love and dedication that educators have toward their students. When the OCR complaint became public, many families felt a sense of hope, a hope that change would finally happen, that their stories would be believed. Take this hope that the community has, take the skepticism and the criticism the community has of this institution, the institution you all represent as elected officials, and put out a plan in writing of how you will continue to do this work in the face of the hateful federal administration. In closing, I want to share that research shows that students succeed when schools and families work together. Utilize the rich talent and education that this community has and continue to do this work. I will help you, and I feel confident in saying that so many other community members would be willing to help with this work. One of my very best friends, an incredible educator in this very district, calls this work her heart work because it is purpose-driven and it is what our Native students deserve. Thank you for allowing me to finish up open forum. And thank you guys so much for everything that you guys do for the district.
Thank you very much, Ms. Greyhorse. Is there any board response to open forum? Ms. Stephenson?
Thanks. Thanks, Tyresha, for coming in. I really appreciate your thoughts. I want to let you know that I, as a board member, remain committed to staying focused on making sure that all our students succeed. Most importantly, our Indigenous students. Just as importantly, we have to be careful what we say, but especially our Indigenous students, because they aren't succeeding at the rate that our other students are. And I really appreciate your willingness to be there with us. I share your thoughts that the community and the school district have to work together to achieve success. And so I appreciate that you closed with that sentiment. Look forward to working with you.
And so I too just wanted to say, thank you to Ms. Grayhorse. Mainly, I'm always so impressed by people who are not, we just have a problem, but who come with solutions and who come with a spirit of collaboration. We are not going to get anywhere if we don't. And, it's fair. We need to take positive and negative criticism equally, but at the same time, I'm so encouraged when people come to the table and say, okay, we all know there's this, how can we work together? And it's not a blame game. It's not pointing fingers. It's let's get this figured out, because what matters is our kids, not this person's right, that's not this person's wrong, but because we want to do better for our kids, which is better for our community. So I just appreciate your collaborative spirit, and I do look forward to hearing from you, working with you, and thank you so much for coming in, for sharing with us. All right. Next, we have our student representatives report, and I think we're gonna go Miss Arabella Scott of Stevens High School first. Or maybe not.
Would it be possible
There you go. Why don't we?
Is it possible if I can go first? Because I have to leave for another meeting that starts at 6:30.
Absolutely is.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you, Arabella, for ceding your spot to me as well. In the last few weeks at Central, a ton has happened in terms of academics. This week is AP testing, as well as next week, I believe. And students have been studying really hard for these exams. It's most definitely a busy and stressful time, but as there's only a few weeks left in the school year, I think we can get through it. I'm wishing everyone good luck and hoping I get a 5 for myself on my AP Lit exam. I only have 1 this year, so fingers crossed. It's also Teacher Appreciation this week, so huge shout out to all of our teachers, anybody on the board, even some of you were teachers or maybe still are kind of teachers, even just in this board kind of symbol. So thank you guys so much for being here and doing all that you do. To show our gratitude for our amazing teachers, Central students in the Student Council are providing recognition throughout this week through free breakfast, donuts, nothing but cakes, coffee, and more. One of Central's teachers, Mrs. Lindy, was recognized by Talent this week, as well for her commitment to education and the blood drive she helps put on at Central each year. She was also honored for leading the largest high school blood drive in the entire state of South Dakota. So way to go, Mrs. Lindy. In activities news, the Central Theater Department put on their last show of the year last weekend. This was Hello Dolly, and though I unfortunately wasn't able to attend, I have heard only amazing things about the production, and I'm excited to see what shows they choose next year. Central's music programs also participated in the large group contest to show off the spring concert music. Central's groups got many superior ratings, but more importantly, students were able to receive feedback on how to improve as musicians. Plus, Central's band concert is next Tuesday at 7 p.m. in Central's Theater, so I hope to see a lot of you there. Staff and students have also been participating in the USC Ice Bucket Challenge, if you've seen that trend online at all. If you remember from a few years ago, it was a trend in social media to dump a bucket of ice cold water on your head to support ALS awareness. Now the trend has come back to support mental health awareness, and many of our teachers and students got together in the courtyard to post their own videos on school social media and show Central's support of bringing awareness to this issue. It's been a great year, and there's still a bit more to come in it, but hoping to finish the year strong. Once a cobbler, always a cobbler.
So I know Miss Amelia has to run, so we do have a gift for you from the board. We just want to thank you for your service, for your commitment, and just truly leading by example always. And we will miss you, but they say we raise you so you can have wings and fly and represent us out there in the world. So thank you so much. And this is great. Miss Arabella, fire away.
Perfect. Good evening, everyone. So as the Raiders are wrapping up another successful school year, we are busier than ever. So to start, there is a band concert tonight at 7 p.m. in the Milo Winter Auditorium. Unfortunately, we all won't be able to attend, but I'm sure it will be amazing anyways. And later this week, there is an all-state jazz band and all-state show choir at Brandon Valley, Friday the 9th and Saturday the 10th. So good luck to our musicians this weekend. Next, boys tennis had a successful weekend East River, and they are now 14-2 for the start of the season. Oh, not the start, the end. They take on Rapid City Christian at 4 p.m. today and have the East-West tournament on Saturday at Sioux Park, starting at 9 a.m. So since the boys are finishing up their regular season, East-West is one of their last regular season tournaments, and they're getting ready for state, which will be on May 22nd and May 23rd in Sioux Falls. On a similar note, the Stevens Raider track team has had a wonderful season. They traveled to Howard Wood for the 100th annual Dakota Relays last weekend and had many victories across the team. Miles Breckus won the boys' 1600-meter run, and Abel Hosworth won long jump. And also our girls 4x4 team got first as well. There have been many school records broken, so just congratulations to all these track runners and field members that are doing a great job. Girls golf has also been successful this season, with many individuals placing in the top 25 individually each tournament. The team will take on Huron, Hot Springs, and Yankton this weekend, so good luck to them. Switching gears, the Introduction to Health Services classes here at Stevens recently finished their CPR certification course, in which they learned check, call, care, perform CPR, stop the bleed, EpiPen administration, first aid, and more. This year, over 100 students got to be CPR certified, and this is so great for our school and for many of these students who are hoping to go into the medical field. They're just learning these real world activities that will help them in case there's ever a bad situation. Next, many Stevens students are preparing and taking AP exams this week and next week. There are a wide variety of exams being administered for different subjects, from physics, government, and history to psychology and English. Many Central kids are also taking AP exams as they're at the same location, the Monument. And so I just want to say good luck to everyone taking those exams this week and the next, because it can be very stressful. Furthermore, there was a Youth City Council orientation today for the new members of the 2025 to 2026 Youth City Council team, and there happened to be many Raiders represented among the board, and it's so good to see fellow students getting involved in the community, wanting to make a change, and it really just shows how hardworking our student body is. I also wanted to mention that the student athlete leadership team, also known as SALT, that works with Mr. Karn, our activities director, to get student athlete insight and provide ideas, has been reading Extreme Ownership for the spring semester. I'm only a couple chapters in, it's been a crazy year, but I really appreciated the things I've learned from the book. And so I would deeply recommend Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink to all of you, because it has applicable themes about leadership in work, school, teams, home, life, and more. So I just wanted to recommend that you guys for a little book club. Lastly, our teacher spotlight for this week is Jordan Seidel. Mr. Seidel teaches concert band, blue jazz band, cadet jazz band, and fifth grade band at Blackhawk Elementary, so he is certainly very busy. He also directs the Stevens Marching Band, pep band, and drumline. He went to Northern State University for music education and is now finishing his 12th year of teaching, 9 of them being here at Stevens. Mr. Seidel says he knew from a very young age that he wanted to pursue music for his whole life, and really found that he was passionate about it when he became a band director in high school and started to earn spots in all state ensembles. So he looks up to Mr. Downs and Mr. Dragoo, who were his band directors here at Stevens growing up. Mr. Seidel and his wife recently welcomed a daughter, Stevie, to their family, so he spends a lot of his free time navigating parenthood, as I'm sure it takes up a lot of time, and he enjoys playing and writing music in bands outside of school for fun, and he likes to cook and, of course, spend time with his family. So thank you, Mr. Seidel, for all you do for Stevens, and that's all I have for this week, so thank you for your time, and go Raiders.
All right, one big thing I can say, my son has been a beneficiary of Mr. Seidel's teaching, and he's excited to get back from Blackhawk back to Stevens so that he can get to have Mr. Seidel again. So yes, he is a wonderful educator, but also Miss Arabella, we have a gift for you. You guys are so busy. I have no idea like how you even make time to be here, because you're doing 257 other things, but you always do it with a smile and a cheerful spirit. And we're so appreciative of you, and we're glad to keep you a little bit longer. And a couple of board members have comments, I think, so we'll let them comment.
This is Arabella for you, and I would say it to Amelia and Marisol too, but I just think there's a lot of value in you guys being here, and I've learned from you, and you have such great leadership skills. I'm super excited to see what you're going to do in the future. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, I second that. I wish all 3 of you were here, but maybe you can share with them. But this has just been a really great year. We've learned a lot. You've come prepared. You've just really impressed us. And as Kate, like, we actually learned what was going on in the district, which is just so fun. That's our job. I would like to let everybody know that Hello Dolly was amazing at Central High School. Everybody on that stage was incredible. It was so good. And then you said that the 100 people with CPR is good for them and good for Stevens. That's good for our community. That makes me happy that there are young adults, adolescents in town who know how to take care of me if I start having a heart attack. So that's really impressive. Thank you.
Mr. Berkland.
Yep, and I don't have much more to add, including the Hello Dolly. I agree. I echo that as well. But it's just been, yeah, as I said, it's been a really great year to learn from all of you. And it's also been great to see you and Amelia at the student school board the last time. It's like, you're great in this element. It's even greater when you're in charge. And Maricel at the Title VI PAC. I love that I've been able to see you in kind of different areas, and you excel in all of them. So I'm very, very, very proud of all three of you.
Thank you, guys. It means so much. It's been an amazing year, and I'm really sad that the seniors are leaving us and it has to come to an end. But yeah, I just really appreciate all the help you've given, and this has been a great experience. So thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for the wonderful student reports and word feedback. And now to the acting superintendent report from Dr. Strasser.
Good evening, board. I would like to echo what a great job our student board reps have done, and a pleasure to have them part of our meetings. And you've all said what was needed to say regarding how much they've meant to this board. A few things tonight. First of all, we've started communicating out our virtual elementary program, and we'll have 2 parent information meetings. That'll be the next 2 nights, Wednesday and Thursday. Those will be at Meadowbrook. Ms. Hogenkamp will lead those, and they start at 6 o'clock. So anybody who wants to know more can attend those, and I'm sure ask all sorts of questions, and we will keep answering and drilling down on the specifics of that program. I was able to attend the LRP conference, which is a special ed conference with Dr. Comer and I believe 10 other educators in our district, which was really awesome. And I will say it was one of the better conferences that I've attended. Definitely had information overload. When the first presenter goes through like 96 slides in an hour and a half, and you don't even have time to read it, let alone process anything she's saying, and she was phenomenal. But I think a couple quick points that I took away from there: sped law changes quickly, and we have to stay on top. And I will never say ahead because I'm not sure how you get ahead, but we have to stay very engaged and in tune with special education law. There's obviously a lot of litigation that goes on around the United States. We saw examples of that. So our processes, our procedures need to keep being refined and in just a good place, whether it's in the classroom or in IEP meetings. And then training and consistency are super important. And I was a part of a session, excuse me, that focused on the role of general education teachers. And sometimes we don't put enough emphasis on their role within special education. And so that just really brought me back to, it's not here and it's not there. It's all of us doing the right things together. So that was awesome. And I would encourage Dr. Comer to keep taking teams there because again, it was super good. It is Teacher Appreciation Week, and one of the things that we have is a nice list of retirees, which is a great accomplishment to get to that point in your career. I believe we were at 28, 29, and I think I saw a couple more coming in. So just thankful for the dedication that it takes to get to that point in someone's career, but always thankful for choosing education. So great to see our retirees. As we think about Teacher Appreciation Week, I do want to mention a few things. Every day in classrooms across our district, teachers show up with purpose, they show up with passion, and with deep care for the students that they serve. They do far more than deliver lessons. They nurture curiosity, they build confidence, they help young people discover who they are and what they can become. And I think tonight you saw a prime example of that with Ms. Bias and her students. And if that is not exemplary of what our teachers bring to our district and what they mean for kids, I don't know what is. And then Arabella just talked about Mr. Seidel as an exemplary teacher who's making a profound impact. Two very small examples, but very powerful and really showcase what our teachers are about. We know that our teachers work long hours. They solve countless challenges. They meet our students regardless of how their students come to them. And they work with kids after school, contact parents. A lot of times they just listen and help hear kids. So a lot of value and impact both during the school day, but also extending. I think we can all think of teachers that have highly impacted us in our lifetime. So as dedicated as teachers are, we can see that they are the backbone of our schools and that their work deeply matters. So a shout out to our teachers. I want them to know that they are appreciated, their work is meaningful, and their influence is profound and lasting. So on behalf of the entire leadership team, we want to say thank you for everything you do and how you approach work through your professionalism, oftentimes through your perseverance, and most importantly, how you believe in kids. And that's why we're here. So RCAS is fortunate to have each and every one of our teachers. So I want to thank all of them. And that's my report.
Thank you very much. Any board members have any questions or comments? All right, thank you so much, Dr. Strasser. We will now have our CFO report from Mr. Koisassi.
Okay, thank you, Vice President Clapham. I feel like we're in that really weird part of the year for support services where everything is going on, but there's nothing to talk about. We're right in the middle of a lot of these really big processes. And so I do want to take a few minutes tonight to talk about everyone's favorite subject, some student nutrition meal debt information. First of all, I feel like this is one of those situations we probably can never talk enough about, just to continue to bring awareness to what's happening and how it's happening. Also, we are going to have some messaging going out to parents towards the end of the school year regarding some of the potential changes that we are thinking of making in terms of how we manage and deal with this situation. And so I wanted to give the board a bit of a heads up on this. So I think, first of all, it's always good to define the problem a little more clearly. And certainly I mean that from a business perspective, not from a social perspective. You could have a totally different conversation regarding that. But from the business perspective, the Student Nutrition Fund is what is called an enterprise fund, meaning that it should be operating essentially as its own business, much like any business would. The revenue generated by that program should support expenses without incurring any additional injections of revenue from the district. So it really is a self-contained program that should be able to stand on its own and operate on its own. So very simply, when student meals go unpaid, the business incurs expenses that are not paid for. So that's a bad formula for any business, right? Anytime you are incurring expenses that you are not receiving revenue for, it's not a good formula. What makes this situation really difficult is because of the presence of federal funds within the student nutrition program, and that is through the free and reduced meal program, which is a federal program. Student nutrition is then unable to cover the cost of those unpaid meals. So even if student nutrition as a fund has a cash positive year, meaning they made more revenue than they spent, they're still unable to cover those meal costs because of that federal presence. So this leaves us with very limited options, of course, in terms of how we deal with that. One being we let the debt accumulate and don't do anything about it, which is obviously not a good option. Second being, we pay the debt with general fund dollars, which of course then has a whole list of ramifications in terms of how it impacts the general fund and some of the things that we're trying to do on the general fund side. Or third, of course, you find other financial options. So to that end, really over the last several years, the community has been who came to the aid of this program. The community has been incredibly supportive. They have donated $336,000 over the last 3 years to paying off unpaid meal debt and paying forward meal debt as well. So incredibly appreciative. Obviously, the relationships that we've developed, we've had multiple organizations and individuals who have been year-over-year donors that we've had great relationships with. They're always willing to come to the aid of this program. We're just incredibly appreciative of that as a district. However, we recognize the idea that that's not a sustainable approach to managing the situation. We cannot continue to year over year hope that our fellow community members and organizations continue to come to our aid and are able to come to our aid. And so we've really come to this realization as this problem has continued to worsen post-COVID, that's not a sustainable approach and that we have to change the way that we approach managing the situation. I think one of the difficult problems that I talk often about in this situation is that, you know, we'll get an unbelievable donation, a $50,000 donation from an individual and organization, and news outlets will come over and interview, and I think everyone expects sort of this sigh of relief, right? Oh, we got a great big donation. We're relieved and everything's going to go away. Well, the most difficult part of this problem is that the meter is always running. And so I always think of the analogy of a meter running outside of your house, right? For your lights and electricity. That meter is continually running. So the second that we get a big donation and we apply that to the meal debt, the meter just keeps running. At this point in the year, we're accumulating approximately $2,000 per day in meal debt. So every single day, we rack up $2,000 in debt. So again, as soon as those donations are applied, the debt just continues to reaccumulate. And so I get very concerned about the idea of donor fatigue and the idea that, again, the community has been incredibly supportive, but there's going to be a point at which they're unable to, or they're fatigued, or they've had to move on to other priorities. And so that's a major concern. Current negative balance at this point in the year is 161,000. It's a little difficult to point to a year over year perspective and say that that's in line or out of line because of the way that we've received donations, the way that they've been applied. You know, for example, at the end of last school year, we had that down into about the $30,000 range. Of course, when the school year starts, the meter runs. So I wouldn't say that it's necessarily changed drastically, especially again post-COVID, where we really saw this problem intensify. But it of course is a concerning amount at this point. So just very briefly, wanted to touch on management strategy. Ultimately, as you've heard me say in the past, I believe that a legislative solution will be necessary at some point in time. I just read a story this morning, really great story, about a reporter in Utah that got really deeply involved in researching bad debt in the state of Utah, and ultimately formed a foundation, and they did some really cool things. But they also had a legislative bill that was passed this year that's going to assist with some meal costs. And so, again, I think that's really at the end of the day, the ultimate solution, whether that's at a federal level or a state level, that it's going to need a legislative kick. And of course, we saw that cause being taken up in our state the past several years. Caden Whitman, a legislator out of Sioux Falls, who really championed that and unfortunately fell short the last 2 years, but I think made some progress in terms of those conversations. But we also recognize that a different approach from the district is necessary at this point. And so we're really digging into that process, really trying to understand how we be more proactive at all levels of that situation, from the front end, meaning that before we ever get to the point that bad debt has occurred and it's starting to rack up. So looking at different forms of low balance alerts and communication, I can say as a parent of kids in the district, I get the low balance, and it's amazing, what a kindergartner can plow through in the course of a week in terms of funds. And so a lot of times, by the time I jump in the system and put more funds in, they're either at or beyond their limit. And so what can we do to remove that barrier, to stretch that out further without inundating parents and guardians and having them turn that off? And really looking at the communication around that, alerts at higher balance levels, automated payments at specified balance levels. So one of the ideas that we had is much like, a subscription, recurring subscription in your retail life. The idea of, as a parent, I could say, when my child's balance hits X, I want it to reload to Y. And completely remove the idea that would ever happen. And so really trying to explore some of those areas and remove any barriers that we can to not ever having this happen in the first place. The one note I would make is, of course, we are sort of at the mercy of our technology and what that will allow in terms of some of those more sophisticated payment systems and payment options. The middle portion of that, so bad debt has incurred. How are we managing that in that first few weeks or month? So again, really trying to improve the communication with families, helping them understand that we will work with them on payment plans, we'll work with them on payment structures, any of those things to help them avoid that issue and pull themselves back out of that situation. Of course, a huge part of this puzzle is the completion of free and reduced applications. We believe that there's a gap in terms of those folks that are qualifying for free and reduced and the families that would qualify for free and reduced if they went forward with the application. And so helping families understand that and hitting every opportunity we can to discuss that with people, whether you think you will or you will not qualify. It's a great idea to fill it out, take the 10 minutes to do it and just see if that works. And then, of course, on the back end, again, improving the communication around the negative balances. How do we ensure that we're getting in touch with those families and that they're aware of the problem? Because you still wouldn't believe how often we contact families and they go, I had no idea that that this was happening. And so how do we improve that communication? Also on the back end, working with a collection agency to collect outstanding balances. That sounds really punitive. We're not approaching it in the sense of being a punitive punishment. What we're trying to do is, currently the student nutrition staff is spending a significant amount of time trying to communicate with families and collect on that bad debt. And obviously that then takes away from their ability to aim their efforts at improving the program. Again, working on some of those front and middle portion stages of this problem, in really trying to just improve the overall quality of our student nutrition program. And so working with a collection agency on the back end allows them to free that off their plates and go back to working on the quality of that program. Just some interesting facts. And again, part of what we're looking at in this strategy is just trying to understand the problem better. And so this is a breakdown in the current year of where that debt is coming from. So there's $24,000 worth of debt from 1,100 students that's in the $0 to $99 range. So a huge portion of that is families that are from $0 to $99. From 100 to 250, we have another 60,376 students. So you see those two categories are really the major categories. Between those two categories, $84,000 and about 1,500 students are in that category. And then we obviously go downwards from there, 250 to 500, 33K, 99 students, 750 to 999, 5,500, 6 students, and then 1,000 plus, a very small amount, 5,300 from 5 students. That gives us really good insight into, again, how we can manage that process of being more proactive and how do we get to those folks before they're falling into those stages where we're having a difficult time collecting. Another interesting point that we found from research in a lot of this was through the legislative process and trying to provide those folks with good information. For example, Sioux Falls had a big emphasis on their reduced students who qualify for reduced segment, because what they found is that a significant amount of their debt was coming from that segment. And this is a really great example of how much it can vary from district to district to district, even large districts, because what we found was our debt from students who qualify for reduced pricing was very minimal, about $1,500. So what works well for Sioux Falls in terms of relief, there was a bill aimed at specifically that reduced portion, would not necessarily work well for us as a district in terms of how we manage that. So really interesting information. And again, trying to dig deeply into that problem, understand some of the analytical side so that we can, again, hopefully be more effective in how we approach that situation. So just again, wanted the board to be aware, we're aggressively addressing the issue. We're not sitting back. We're not hoping it to take care of itself. We're not going to continue to, although we very much appreciate the support of the community, and that of course, no matter what happens, we'll continue to use and need that support. But we're also not sitting idly by and just hoping that the problem goes away. So again, just wanted to communicate that to the board, a brief update, more information to come as we continue to refine what that looks like, but wanted to bring you up to speed. Happy to answer any questions, Vice President.
Yes, okay. Ms. Urban, go ahead with your question.
So there are districts that for that free and reduced population, they're covering that cost. And I understand that that could be a big cost, but I'd be interested in knowing what that might be. I also think by covering that cost, you're gonna get more of those people that haven't applied to apply, because it means that you're not gonna have this debt anymore potentially. So I think it's an area we should at least explore when we're talking about management strategies. I just would like to know what that amount might be.
Yeah, certainly something we've discussed, and I think that the dollar amount would not shock anyone in terms of just what that amount would be if we said we're going to recover reduce. And I think what we have to weigh as a district is proactively covering that amount going to avoid collection issues and things that we're spending time and money and resources on in the back end to justify that investment. So I think it's a great idea.
And I think a legislative decision would be great, but I'm just not super optimistic. I hope they keep working, but I don't think we can wait around for them.
Yeah, would agree.
Can I jump ahead and just follow up on that? But what you're saying is the reduced lunch is not the problem because those debts are getting paid. So I don't know that paying for the reduced debt wouldn't
Well, I'm
reduce
saying,
this enormous amount of.
yes, and I get that, but I think more people would apply. And that's the issue that we're having. If we could encourage them, we're gonna pay for this, that could spur more to apply. And if they didn't, then you're still not, it's not costing us a ton. It's not a big, cost for the district. But I do think being really proactive about helping people understand how important it is to apply and really kind of holding their hand through that process would be helpful.
Along those lines, I mean, I feel like I don't want to stop serving kids lunch, but I would feel comfortable saying, you have more than $100 in debt. We're going to stop serving your kid lunch unless you fill out the free and reduced lunch form. And if you don't qualify for it, fine, let's figure it. But like, we need to know if you qualify. I guess I just don't, if they're not applying for a free lunch, then they're not going to apply for a a free lunch, you know, even if it's, then they're not gonna apply for like even more kids get a free lunch. I don't know. I understand what you're saying, but I don't think I don't think that takes care of the $200,000, the $2,000 a day in debt. That's an astonishing number.
Yeah, no, great points. And I think it's a true dichotomy of a situation because, of course, we with the board's support have always approached the situation with the idea that we're going to feed kids because that's the right thing to do. It ultimately is the best way to give the student the best chance of learning and making academic progress. And so we've approached it that way. Of course, the converse side of that is there's no teeth to really anything that we're doing at this point in terms of collection efforts or any of those things. And so it becomes a really, really difficult problem from a lot of different angles. And certainly the social angle is one of those to determine how we move forward. And I do think that there will be a point that we will have to explore how we manage those situations. And if there is a point at which we have to say, I'm sorry, but we will no longer serve meals, whether that's a specific amount of debt, whether that's other factors that we will have to at some point discuss that. And that's unfortunate, but it's also part of the reality of the situation. So, but I think there are other things that we can do, again, trying to be proactive, trying to avoid the situation, trying to make it more manageable before we come to that point that we need to try.
Thank you. Mr. Berkland.
Yeah, thank you. First thought, thank you for putting this all together. And I hope that I understand what everyone's saying, but I really, really hope that we never get to the point where we have to stop feeding kids, because at that point, we've stopped teaching kids. Essentially, like if the kid's hungry, they're not learning. It's basic education. The other thing, I agree that legislative is maybe probably not the option, but I hope and I'm glad that we are still pushing on that. Particularly, even if we can get a portion of it, like that every little bit helps there.
Absolutely.
But the other thing I wanted to add is, even if we don't have the technology, I'm wondering if we could like encourage families to set up, like I set up like for my bills, like an automatic in their bank.
Yeah.
If we could have some sort of campaign there for those families that can afford it, because it sounds like many of them from what you have here either are not identified or not, I don't want to say like can't afford it, but like we would assume that they can't afford it.
Right.
So just throwing that out there as an idea. If we don't have the technology, I wonder if we can like push out like, hey, here's how I do it at my bank, and like get local banks involved in that. And that sort of thing.
Yeah, certainly. I think that's a great point, Michael. And as we talk about sort of that middle portion of that situation, I think that can really be a benefit of helping families to structure payment processes and certainly we're more than willing to work through those types of situations and help however we can. If we can get the technology behind us and make that automated, it would help out a ton, obviously, but stuff that we'll explore for sure.
Mr. Carr. Oh, you're muted. You're muted.
He's a new guy.
All right. I'm trying to think of a mechanism that we are updated on this process again. Do you all have a timetable of when you would want to have whatever decision or whatever direction you go? Do you have a timetable for that?
Yeah, certainly, Bishop Carr. So we'll have some better idea as we approach the school year. I would say midsummer, some of the changes, the specific changes that we'll be looking at and how they'll be implemented and some of those things. So yeah, my plan would be to bring this conversation back probably in that midsummer timeframe, month before school, and give the board another update with more specific information in terms of what new processes will be implemented or adjusted.
Okay, I would appreciate that. Thank you so very much.
Yes, sir.
And my one question, which I'm worried because I feel like it's a really big question that maybe isn't simple, but so you mentioned like because of the federal involvement, like, is there a, like, bring it down to like us non-math business people level, as to how that federal involvement, like why that has such an impact on why the negative balance is, like, I don't quite get the picture, but if there's a way you could make that maybe a little more clear.
Sure, yeah, so about 60-ish% of the student nutrition revenue ultimately comes through the free and reduced meal program, which is a child and adult nutrition program up through the federal government. Actually is a USDA program, Department of Agriculture program. And so all that money flows into the district, and because of the federal laws and restrictions around how federal dollars are used, you cannot then take student nutrition money and pay it towards debt, that bad meal debt. So for example, let's say the year ended and the student nutrition program had $75,000 worth of student nutrition debt. Even if they made $250,000 that year and said, oh, from a cash perspective, we could pull that cash over and pay this debt, they're restricted by the federal government from doing that. So it then pushes that problem essentially out of the program and into the lap of either the general fund or something else. And again, our something else has been the incredible support of our community that's kept, that pull it back, rack it up, pull it back, rack it up system happening now. Again, I think looking at some of that proactive approach and trying to really get analytical about how much money we're spending in terms of the collection aspect, the time and effort of our staff, trying to go after that is another necessary element of really understanding the problem. But at this point, we again think that we can do a lot of good things by changing some of the strategies and approaches on how we manage it. So that's really where the federal presence becomes an issue.
That was very helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Does any
Yes,
other
ma'am.
board members have any questions? No. Okay.
Okay, very good. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Sassy. We are moving on to item 11. There are no conflicts of interest, or I haven't received any. So then we move on to item 12, policies, procedures, and exhibits. And this is a first reading. So if anyone wants to pull anything or discuss anything on item 12. I do not see any hands, so I need a motion to approve item 12.
Can I ask a question?
Then in formality, actually, no, not at this point, sorry.
Sorry.
All right, it has been motioned.
Second.
It has been motioned and seconded to approve item 12. And Sheila, can I get a roll call, please?
Troy Carr,
Yes.
Jamie Clapham,
Yes.
Christine Stephenson,
Yes.
Donna Moore,
Yes.
Michael Berkland,
Yes.
and Katie Urban. Yes. 6-0.
Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. Now moving on to item 13, approval of proposed agreements. Are there any proposed agreements that anyone would like to pull or discuss? Seeing no hands and no hands in Zoom land, I need a motion and a second for approval of item 13, approval of proposed agreements.
Motion.
Second.
It has been motioned and seconded to approve item 13. Sheila, may I have a roll call, please?
Troy Carr,
Yes.
Jamie Clapham,
Yes.
Christine Stephenson,
Yes.
Donna Moore,
Yes.
Michael Berkland,
Yes.
and Katie Urban. Yes. 6-0.
All right, motion passes. And now we're moving on to item 14, approval of proposed consent agenda. If anyone wants to pull or discuss anything, now would be the time to ask. I see no hands nor any hands in Zoom land. So I need a motion and a second for approving the proposed consent agenda, item 14.
So move.
Second.
It has been motioned and second to approve item 14 and all the items in it. Roll call vote, Ms. Sheila, please.
Troy Carr,
Yes.
Jamie Clapham,
Yes.
Christine Stephenson,
Yes.
Donna Moore,
Yes.
Michael Berglund,
Yes.
and Katie Urban.
Yes.
6-0.
Excellent. So it has been brought to my attention that one of the items, the OCR update under the Board of Items for Board Information, item 15, may be a little bit longer or more robust than usually things under items of board information. So unless there is objection, we're going to take a 3-minute stretch break at this point before item 15, unless anyone objects to that. All right, we will take a 3-minute rest break and then come back for the remainder of the agenda. All right, now that we've all done our stretch and water break, we will move on to items for board information, number 15. So I will give the floor to Dr. Strasser.
Board members, a few weeks ago, we shared information at a study session regarding different programming that we wanted to do in our elementary. So we went, excuse me, we started with our virtual elementary program. And now I wanted to bring back and circle back to our behavior reset and teach programs. So I kind of condensed the information into what I was hoping to be a one pager, turned out to be a little bit more. But in essence, the overview, the why we want to do these programs, just supporting our students and their diverse needs and trying to meet them where they're at, but move them to places where they can have success in our school system. When you look at kind of the leadership piece here, we've already approved some services at the facility. These are programs that are going to be housed at the Kip and Custer facility, like we've described before. These programs are run through Meadowbrook Elementary. That's the entity piece. And again, I mentioned the facility. The behavior reset specifically, if you get to the bottom of page 1, it kind of restates the purpose of the program and some of the details. We're looking at 1-to-8 ratio. I believe we could touch 1-to-12. That's not necessarily our intention. We want to strive for that 1-to-8 because we think that's where that sweet spot of effectiveness is. And on the next page, it talks about the behavior framework. We're really excited about utilizing the Boys Town model. This is a nationally recognized system promoting effective behavior management. We feel that it.
Can we ask you a quick question? Is there a page we're supposed to have? Okay,
sorry.
that's where, we didn't know if we were looking at like a hard piece of paper, so
Nope.
just making sure.
Sorry, that's what I was referencing.
Nope, so that works just fine. Thank you.
So we feel that the Boys Town model fits really well with our other discipline components of conscious discipline, responsibility centered discipline, and the discovery curriculum. So we thought it fit in really well there. And the staffing piece is the big piece. This is a general education program. It is not a special education program. It can get confusing because we're asking for 2 general education teachers, but then it says 4 special education paraeducators. So because we know that we'll have supports for special education students, that's how we can support it with paraeducators funded through special education. So that's the big ask for the board to consider. Going back to the Boys Town model, we estimate about $18,000 for training initially and ongoing, and that can be funded through special education. So that's our behavior reset program. This is K-5. I think we've got a good basis for pulling this together. The TEACH program is the one that is geared specifically for autistic students, and you'll see in the program details. I put 1 teacher per 3 students. I think we can go 1-to-6 there. And this would be funded through special education. So the staffing piece is 1 special education teacher and then 2 to 3 pairs depending on the number of students attending. And I'm not sure if we would look at 2 teachers in that program, but right now we thought we would start with 1 to get it focused and get it started. So that's where we're at. I'm sorry, the training piece for the TEACH program, that's an estimate. In talking to Dr. Comer, we're looking at, she indicated it was probably a little bit less, and that's about an 18-hour training. And that's ongoing because this is training that many of our special education teachers can do because we have autistic students throughout the district. So we're going to learn how to effectively work with autistic students regardless, but this is a specific program for those with certain autistic needs. So questions regarding our proposal here?
It's always hard for me to see everybody's. I'm just gonna go with how I saw. Mr. Berkeley.
Thank you. So with all of our programs at Kip and Custer, how many kids will be in that building roughly?
So, if you can, excuse me, visualize, we'll have a couple of preschool classrooms and those will have a varying number of students throughout the day because they're kind of fluid. The behavior reset occupying 2 classrooms and then maybe a support area we would max that probably in that 16 plus 1 and 22 range. The teach program again, kind of 1 to 3, 1 to 6. So that would be, I'm just visualizing going around. And then of course we'll have our teachers and our support areas for support personnel. And then the virtual elementary will be on the other side of the building. And that's just, it just depends on the timeframes that we establish for bringing students in and how many that would be. I have no idea how many students will be in our virtual program. And we set up to 40. We're hopeful to hit that at least at some point this year. But
50 to 100 is a reasonable
yes
range. Okay.
Yes.
And then the assistant principal is on site and then kind of overseen by Principal Hogenkamp. Am I?
Yes.
Understand
Yeah. So Principal Hogenkamp and the assistant principal will work out how they provide supervision and their time there and how that all comes together. So yes, we have some scheduling to do to figure out what is best for supervision there, but also carrying out the responsibilities at Meadowbrook.
So one of them at least would be there at all times. So is that accurate or?
At all times, I don't know about all times.
Okay.
But the idea was that we would have enough supervision and direct support administratively for these programs.
Okay.
Mrs. Urban.
Dr. Comer wanted to jump in, but I don't know
Oh,
if that.
my apologies.
Yeah, if that's okay.
Dr. Comer and then Mr. No. Absolutely.
Mr. Berkland, on your question about the supervision there all the time, we do it like Lincoln, our program at Lincoln, there's no administrator there. They're on call. And so if something happens, they call one of the special ed administrators for that building, and there's 2 programs there. And so I think when you look at the location and the staffing, there's gonna be supervision for adults there, because you're gonna have, 3 preschool teachers, you're gonna have all their paraprofessionals, you're gonna have the classroom teachers if we do that program. So there'll be a lot of adult availability, if
Right,
that makes
yeah.
sense.
Yep, totally. I'm not concerned about the teachers at all. I'm just like, if I'm a teacher and I need help, what does that look like, sort of thing. So appreciate that. Thank you.
Mrs. Urban.
So I think it all sounds really great, but I know there was concern about bringing it forward for next year, just given funding. So do we have a plan to fund it at this point?
We've talked about it and we've looked at different ways to, well, I've tried to be very diligent on where we are in the district with our FTEs in general, and that's helped. Well, we've talked about different ways to utilize special education funding where it's possible. Always a concern and always a concern. And anytime you bring in, and that's why, yes, this is the second piece. But that's why we're bringing it forward.
All right, Mrs. Stephenson.
Yeah, are the teaching and para positions that you have listed here, are they brand new positions? Are they adding to the number of positions in the district?
Correct.
Okay, so each of these numbers, new teachers to the district. And then, the teach program, is that replacing a different approach to meeting the needs of students with autism, or is it just new that the district even has an approach to kids with significant needs?
I would say it's not really replacing, it's adding to what we do. A lot of our structured academics programs, we utilize the teach method, that structured teaching within those programs. It is very difficult for a classroom if there's multiple strategies that you have to use. And so our thought was if we have one classroom that is their sole curriculum and methodology that they use, we might see some different success for those students. Our numbers in our structured academics program are increasing significantly without move-in students at the beginning of the year. Our teachers are starting out 10, 11 students in our K2 programs, K1 programs. So the need for another classroom is very needed.
Especially for those kids with the highest needs.
Correct.
And this would be, I guess I'm trying to, one teacher for 3 students. So if it's one teacher and 3 paras, is that a max of 12 kids that we're talking about?
Yeah, I would say a 3-to-1 is a good structure for that. So correct, one teacher. And then if you have the paras, you could go up to that 1-to-3 ratio is
So then-
very effective.
So total next year would be 12 kids.
I would say you would have one teacher, 2 paras,
Okay.
and then
More likely that we'd have
6 to 9,
9.
yeah. Depending on the severity of the students.
Mhm. But then that is better than what we have right now, because those kids are just scattered throughout the district.
It would add to the services that we're already providing. So I wouldn't say that it would make it better. I just think it would add and help us be a little more effective.
And I will say, we have challenges staffing across the district. So even by presenting this and bringing it forward, we don't know if we'll be able to fully staff, and therefore that would impact our ability to run the program. So we face that with anything.
Well, I just want to say, I really, really appreciate you bringing something forward for kids with autism who have high needs. I mean, when you hear, as you know, I work with kids in the school, I work at a nonprofit clinic with kids in the district. And when you hear stories, it's just the highest needs kids are the most heartbreaking stories. And so I'm thrilled that I have something to point to say we're trying to do something different and better for these students. So I appreciate it.
You actually answered the one question I have, so excellent work. And I don't see any questions in Zoom land, so thank you very much. On to item B.
All right. Well, thank you, members of the board. Tonight, we're sharing our progress and our next steps in relation to our year-long work regarding the OCR voluntary resolution agreement. Even though the agreement was terminated in April, our team is committed to showing the progress in the 3 key areas that you could see in the presentation: advanced learning, discipline, and truancy. So as I stated, this is work that we've been doing since last May. This is a comprehensive report, and I know it's going to take a bit to get through, but we think there is a lot of value in what we've done to try to meet what was originally set for us. And along the way, hopefully you see a picture of not just the accomplishments, but also some ways in which we're able to move. I will say that anytime we as a district want to share information, we are a learning organization. And as leaders, we take that to heart, and we want to learn, we want to improve, and we want to do the things that we know can best support our students. So as we look at the strategic plan here, we, as a learning organization, connect everything through our strategic plan and the 5 pillars. And while we'll focus heavily on our student pillar tonight, you can't not touch on all the pillars. And I think it's always good to be grounded that way. So our commitment is to make sure that we reference this. This is part of who we are as a district, that the actions and decisions that we make flow directly from the strategic plan. That's our commitment to being a highly reliable organization that drives our education and drives our work with kids. So in a deep analysis of the OCR agreement, there are 22 points that were highlighted and recommended to work towards completion. And in this presentation, we're gonna try to identify those, excuse me, those points, show our progress, and that we're doing many of these things because it is, it's the right thing to do for our students. And that's what's expected at RCAS. And again, circling it back, it aligns with our strategic plan. That's our purpose. So as we got into the work regarding the OCR, it was clear that we needed someone to spearhead the just all-encompassing work of the agreement. And that's where we landed on the Director of Positive School Culture and Climate. The agreement identified that this person should lead, should provide direction, should maintain accountability throughout the process. So the director role is essential to the success not just of the former agreement, but also where we want to move with the actions that we know are best practice in relation to our students. So I'm going to ask Director Veit to talk a little bit more about her role.
Thank you, Dr. Strasser. Good evening. As the Director of Positive School Culture and Climate, I lead through a collaborative approach, and that is a partnership with district leaders as well as outside organization on how we meet our strategic goals and for accountability to really say and do in alignment. Our alignment is with initiatives keeping in mind student needs as well as system needs. In my leadership capacity, my focus areas have been on truancy reduction, discipline for our students, advanced learning initiatives, the public complaint process, and policy and procedure refinement. I guide this work through continuous framework, asking these specific questions of where are we? Where do we need to be? What steps do we need to do to get there? And whose needs are being met? By really putting that into the focus, then I know that we are striving and leading through a framework that is both responsive and forward-thinking. Throughout the presentation, just like Dr. Strasser was saying, our alignment within our pillars of our strategic planning, if you take a look at the top right, it'll show how that specific work is aligned with specific pillars.
So one of the first things that we did in August last year is we shared out a memo of it was just a written memorandum. And the point of that was to ensure continuity, to let people know that we were addressing policy, processes, and procedures in these three areas because it wasn't very well known. So we had to really get that information out. And that was very important. And then for us moving forward, we think there's great value in continuing with uniformed guidance and training. So not only did we share out a memorandum, but we started training processes in August, which you'll hear about specifically regarding discipline with Tom in a little bit. So that was one of our key first steps.
One of the major lifts within my work was the corrective action plan. Within the corrective action plan, And as we are going through tonight's presentation, I'm going to talk about 3 buckets, but technically there are 4. The 3 heavy buckets were truancy, discipline, advanced learning, and overarching. What is overencompassing with all? The corrective action plan when I was hired, and I do like to reiterate, I was hired in January, so I feel like I'm coming in at halftime and I'm like, whoo, what work was completed, what work needs to continue, and what is emergent work. So as I was reading the OCR voluntary agreement, I noticed a pattern. The specific timelines did not align with educational organization. For example, the district was required to submit certain data. However, the timelines would say January. Semesters, knowing that they don't end, just aligning with January 1. There's work that needs to be done on the other side with our teachers, either encoding grades or making sure we have our system really complete to be able to compile that data. So one thing that I am thankful for is now we as a district and as the leaders within the district are able to say, these are the needs that meet us within an educational system. For example, like professional development, when does this align? Is it February? Or is it when we come back at the beginning of the year within August? So there is that alignment for educational system. With the corrective action plan, it did have the 4 categories or the 4 big buckets. And there was the requirement of having a root cause, a strategic goal, action steps, a person responsible, as well as the timeline. When was that going to continue on? Either it was a deadline. And I just want to reiterate, within those 4 big buckets, we did have 49 specific subcategories identified. And those weren't just any like one and done checking a box. Those were things that continue on, and because that's what high functioning schools do. I would also like to say that the corrective action plan really is a working document. And with the way things are now, we're moving forward, is it looks different than what was outlined within the corrective action plan. For example, we did ask for an extension with the corrective action plan because it was January 31 when it should have been submitted to the board, should have been submitted to the district leadership as well as that stakeholder equity committee to be able to provide feedback. And then there was a turnaround submitting it to the OCR with 60 or 90 days within the board, really setting those into place. However, we're still able to take that work and move it forward. Next slide here is just a snippet of what that corrective action plan really looked like. And I think it's important to really show, once again, this has 3 of the subcategories, but there were 49 that were identified so far. And with the OCR voluntary agreement, it was really put into place because the district did not have the artifacts to be able to prove that there was not disproportionate data within that truancy, discipline, as well as advanced learning. So all those blue are active links to be able to support and prove we were doing what good schools do.
Within the agreement, it called for utilizing experts, and that's where we get to our expert consultants. As a district, we were fortunate to be able to bring in outside ideas and thoughts to help us work through the various parts of the agreement. And we're thankful for having those opportunities, and they all played a specific role.
Yes, and I was very fortunate to work closely with the expert consultants that were identified and approved by the OCR that the district works with. One is Dr. Joseph Gardella. Dr. Joseph Gardella really analyzed our discipline data, and he was being able to really show a different perspective of what are our punitive measures versus our supportive measures. The other expert consultant was Catherine Sosa, who worked with advanced learning policy revision. And tonight you guys were able to bring that forward with IGBB. Coaction Collective was the expert consultants that worked with the Stakeholder Equity Committee. They really worked hand in hand beside me on how do we move that committee forward, and we'll be getting into that in our next slides. Truancy data analysis was Dr. Mitch Stone. And then our transfer policy that you guys already approved tonight was really a heavy lift identified in the agreement. And I worked with the expert consultant of Sarah White, as well as meeting with the Great Plains Tribal Ed directors to be able to provide their input on that transfer policy that we approved for tonight. Our next steps is we'll continue just utilizing our district staff on how do we keep moving these forward.
I really that. I totally forgot that you reached our team. So we're several slides in, and Director Bites with us, Director Strong from federal programs, Mr. Stewart, behavior support, and Dr. Conroy, Title I principal. So that is the team, and they've been doing a ton of work on this. And sorry, I should say that at the beginning. We'll keep rolling.
So like I was saying, when I come in January, you know, my primary focus was what was completed, what was in progress, and what needed to begin. I saw an urgent need for that Stakeholder Equity Committee because that was the driving force for the OCR agreement, was a lot of their work. So one was who was the group membership. And I do want to also stress, going back to that corrective action plan, as well as the Stakeholder Equity Committee, is everything that the district completed had to get prior approval through the OCR. So there was a lot of steps. And I think it's important to stress the Stakeholder Equity Committee and how that group arrived. So the OCR agreement did say, if you take a look at the slide on the right, positions, there had to be certain requirement of positions, and that was the Title VI manager, PAC representation, and the PAC teacher, and the student representation from that PAC committee. They did, the OCR agreement recommended 2. However, the PAC committee did make a motion that they wanted their entire board to be a part of this committee, and we honored that. Another representation was the Indigenous Ed Task Force members, OLO, community members, Oyate Behavior Health, a counselor, a district administrator, a school administrator, as well as a special education staff member. So that way we could get all perspectives encompassed within the school. When I arrived, that list was about 30 members, and I was like, whew, how do we get meaningful work with a large group? So we stuck true to the requirements from the OCR, as well as that PAC motion of their entire board. So we did kind of just draw some names out of the hats for those groups that were identified very large. And then I did give them notification on thank you for your interest. You will be a second alternative if our original members don't show on a consistent basis, and people were very appreciative of that. Coaction Collective was the expert consultant, so I did a lot of work with this group. They were hired to be able to provide, you know, that outside perspective for next steps. They met with the members on a one-on-one session, and they also met with me weekly, sometimes twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week. It was really planning quickly because, once again, there's deadlines. I was hired January 2nd. The Stakeholder Equity Committee was to be submitted by January 31st. So we had a lot of catching up to do. So the OCR did agree with extended timeline or extension of March 28th, which we'll get into. We did have several group meetings. We had a meeting on February 26th, as well as March 12th. With coactive collection, having that stakeholder equity report completed, and we did have it submitted to the OCR by March 28th, and then we all know what happened April 1st. So the process and the timeline really was 2 days from now, that committee was going to meet again to be able to bring to the board recommendation and policy refinement. However, we as a district and leadership will be continuing on that work to make sure we're in compliance with federal. Once we do get to that report at a later board meeting date, there are already things that were identified within that report that the district is already doing. We'll be bringing forward tonight the syllabi literacy. There was IGBB, which is that advanced learning, really having measures, identifiable measures for advanced learning. The transfer policy, that's a huge policy for us to be able to have and how we support our students who are not only transferring in, but when they're transferring out, and how do we get them into the school as quick as possible. Student leadership roles, we see that. I know Miss Marcella did not show up tonight. However, I've seen her at several board meetings, is really giving students opportunities to lead. So we do have that with board representation with our student reps, as well as that PAC. And then I learned tonight, I believe it is with the Homeless Coalition. That is one that I didn't even know. So if we were still active now, we would have 50 items to that corrective action. So that is the Stakeholder Equity Committee.
Before you navigate off of that, just because I get asked this question, so it doesn't matter anymore, but the Stakeholder Equity Committee, that was those people on the left. And then you said, anybody else who applied who didn't fall into one of these categories, you drew out of a hat?
So for example, that community portion, there were like 15 names. We kept 2. Cause how do we do meaningful work with a workable size group? So we went from a list of 30 and then submitted and got approved a list of 18. So there were 18 representations that made up the Stakeholder Equity Committee.
Okay, so the community, those 2 did you draw out of a hat?
The community members. Everybody else was a specific requirement.
Right, because, okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
And so the district took it a step further and added community members. And that's where the excess really was.
Just really quick, when will we see the report from the stakeholder committee? Will we get to see that?
We haven't set a time frame yet. This was the first most important thing right now, and we'll communicate that out. Yeah.
All right, good evening, board. Tom Stewart, Student Support Manager. I'll be covering the discipline area. There were 5 essential key points or key areas the agreement asked us to look at. The first one here is the revised discipline policies and procedures. There are 3 policies that are related or directly connected to discipline. Student conduct, JFC, student suspension expulsion, JGD, and student searches and interviews, JFG. All 3 of these have not yet been reviewed. Obviously, these are things that there were heavier lifts, obviously, needing to be taken care of. This is something that we can definitely look into. Student conduct does a primary role of defining behaviors that are applicable to suspensions and expulsions. Student suspension or the suspension expulsion policies are essentially mimics of state law that govern those particular areas. So there may be little wiggle room for us to do changes because it almost is exact verbiage from state law. And then finally, the student searches and interviews policy. Obviously, when you're dealing with student discipline, you have searches and interviews that are potentially part of the process. So obviously that is related to student discipline. That is also something that it incorporates the SRO involvement, security, administration, and different things like that. So that is definitely an area where we can look at in the near future. Another area is the discipline matrix revision. In 2018, we went from a very punitive black and white zero tolerance discipline matrix to the matrix in which we have now, which is much more restorative in nature. A lot more options for administrators to utilize in relation to the context, the severity, the frequency, and so forth. I do meet with each level, elementary, middle, and high school in the spring. I actually just met with the high school team today, and we review, since they are the ones at the ground level implementing it day to day, I rely heavily on their experiences to our definitions. Do they make sense? Are there confusions in definitions? Are there consequences that don't really make sense in accordance with the incident? The discipline matrix is available online on our website and accessible by everybody. And I know that a lot of our administrators have those conversations with the matrix in hand with students and families when there is a situation to deal with. We do also ensure that our programmatic, like RCD, responsibility centered discipline, conscious discipline, PBIS, and discovery programs, those languages, those interventions that are incorporated in those programs are also related within that matrix. And so it's not this or that, it's both and. And then really a lot of, as I said before, a lot of that work is refining consequences and those definitions. And as Dr. Strasser pointed out, in August, we wrote and disseminated the behavior memorandum to all staff. We did training in August and again followed up in, I want to say November. I might be wrong. I might be a month off there, but I'm pretty sure it was November. And that memorandum for behavior has the key theme that I put up on the slide is all discipline and consequences must be administered consistently and without bias.
Dr. Conroy, can I ask, sorry.
Yeah.
Tom, can I ask a quick question? I remember, memory's a little foggy, but there's discussion about part of the OCR about communicating to families, like when we were talking about like a video at one time, and you might be getting to that, or I might be like running way ahead.
Yep, it is on one of the points I'm going to get to, but yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. You're reading the crystal ball already. The second area is record keeping. This was a big lift for the district, simply because we have 22 buildings and there were probably 22 different ways of collecting that data. Skyward was the single house for all of our majors, but our minors and the way teachers or staff in general reported their behaviors of concern varied almost 22 different ways. This was nice because what it really did unify our efforts. It gives, in my opinion, much more rich data because it is coming directly from the source. Sometimes when paper pencil or you're putting it into a Google form or a Microsoft form or whatever, an Excel document for in some places, each time that translation from one source to another, there could be loss of information. But now with staff directly entering into the into Skyward in the form that is on the artifact gives us that direct information, and that is housed as part of that student record now, when in previous times, if it was in a Google form, that may not be linked to a student record. Again, the protocols were written in August, disseminated and trained both in August, and then I did reiterate those in the November training as well with the memo. And it gives us the potential to have internal audits. We can actually, the data that is being provided, not that we didn't have good data previously, now we have better data, more complete data in which we can, at the district and building levels, actually have conversations and do those internal audits and actually communicate that information out to our stakeholders and have a better picture overall, a more complete picture, I guess.
I would also like to add that internal audit piece. So going back, remember when I was talking about the corrective action plan? The OCR voluntary agreement is because the district did not have the artifacts or the information to be able to disprove disproportionate data. So with having a set way on how we're going to enter it, when we're going to enter it, then we have the capability to be able to go in, are we doing what we say we're going to do, which goes back again to that accountability piece.
Can I just ask a quick question? And a comment. So I'm glad that we have this. I think it's been needed. I think obviously our data was lacking based on some of the things that we've seen. And so this is good, but I'm curious, how have teachers and staff responded to these new protocols to be putting things in? Have you seen more consistency?
I do actually see a lot more consistency. Obviously, with anything new, there's hesitation, there's apprehension. But once I think staff got in and saw this, many of the digital versions that they were using before with the Google Forms and things like that, it was almost identical information that they were capturing there. And knowing now that this is in the record, the information loss potential is no longer there. I think once we got past those certain hurdles, the acceptance of the staff was far greater. Getting 100% across the board, I don't know the best batter in baseball bats 1,000. So it would be nice to get there. And I believe we are in a much better place than we were a year ago, though.
And to also elaborate to that, Katie, so not only are there 20 buildings, you know, they all speak to each other, and we do have clerical, like, oh my gosh, I do it X, Y, and Z. I'm doing it A, B, and C. Is it wrong? So the meetings that I have been in is the eagerness to be able to recognize there is consistency on how we enter certain data points.
So moving on to one that nests really nicely with the record keeping is that discipline data and school team meetings. Obviously data, you can put all sorts of data in the tracking system, but if you don't take it out and analyze it, it's purposeless, right? So not that we hadn't reviewed data in previous years. I just think the emphasis on reviewing that data and increasing the accountability with the record keeping, I think has increased that. We still are not quite where we want to be as a district, but we are moving in that right direction towards that. Again, that unified record keeping does provide us that improved data to actually guide some of that conversation. And then each building does have a behavior related team. Some are 5 personnel, some are as robust as 15, I think is our biggest building level, which is pretty sizable. They are encouraged to look at the data monthly. Obviously, time is always an element. I do know that they do discuss more than just the data. They talk about interventions, building-wide tier 1 interventions, things like that. So that data analyst piece does compete with some of the other conversations, but we will continue to work and refine those areas. And we have a district team that meets monthly. There's a snippet of a quick agenda and some of the meeting dates that exist. I get to sit on that team. It is led by Ms. Strong's behavior team, and that we do get into data. again, competing with a lot of other initiatives, so we don't always get to look at data, but it is an area that we need to just get better at. Each school is represented on this team. It is a voluntary base. We do our best to compensate them for their voluntary time. But it would, I want to say a year ago, that team grew from, I want to say we were about 12 to 15, and I think we're about 30 now, 31. So a lot of voices, again, much like Ms. Veitz, a group that gets too big, it becomes diminishing returns. So I feel like it's a pretty good group and a lot of real good valid conversations, and it gives crosstalk between buildings. Those team members at the middle level, the high school level, and the elementary level are able to have those candid, crucial conversations and crosstalk. So that's hugely valuable.
And just to that point, when you think about a district our size, to be able to have those conversations and rich dialogue, now more focused, I think brings a lot more value versus what we were previously doing, and this allows us to make more progress.
Our fourth area is training on discipline. I already covered several of what we've already done. We will continue to move forward. A few years ago, we started to actually intentionally setting aside a half a day to work with our administrators on how training them on the discipline matrix, training them on the skyward monster that is. So we do that as we train our new staffs. Again, Ms. Strong and her team leads the way there. I do supplement and assist when able. And again, because a lot of our new staff are coming in and have no awareness or little awareness to conscious discipline, responsibility centered discipline, discovery, and Boys Town up and coming, right? So these are all things that we know we need to sustain. We can't just do one and done. And so those are ongoing. We do, again, programming training. The South Dakota Department of Education provides us at least 3 times a year that I'm recalling free training for the most part. There doesn't cost us anything, only cost us the cost of subs oftentimes, or additional pay if it's a summer training session. The ladies that are involved in that group are phenomenal, and they are eager to come alongside us. They actually have, instead of using local vendors, they're actually using our space, and they train the region, right? So we've got Buffalo, we've got Douglas, we've got all sorts of Meade County, Spearfish. They're coming into our facilities to conduct these trainings, which is, it's good for recruiting as well. We have a training plan to sustain our conscious discipline. We have a plan for our responsibility centered at the high school and our discovery program at the academies. Additional efforts, we do spend some time training our staff in the restorative practices, emotional poverty, and we have a behavior refresh that we not only train our own district. Right now we're sitting at about 100 registered for this summer's behavior refresh internally, but we also invite our neighboring school districts. We get Hill City, Hot Springs, Spearfish was there. We even had an attendee last year from Bismarck. Douglas, we do have quite a bit from Douglas as well. We even have a presenter that's coming from Douglas this year. Last year we had Brian Mendler. If you're not aware of him, he's all over YouTube. I recommend. And this year we have Ruby Payne coming in for our keynote. And so phenomenal efforts there. Thanks to Dr. Strong. I just gave you a doctorate. Ms. Strong and Dr. Strasser's leadership to help us, because we were doing that, but it was very on a much smaller scale within the district. And the last 2 years we've branched out, and it's been a phenomenal event for us to get out and get people trained on, because behavior is a real concern to everybody.
I'd also like to add, where we see that emotional poverty, we do have a national trainer in the room here, Ms. Strong, with Ruby Payne. And that also aligns, and I could stop every single slide in what we're doing with how it aligns with that stakeholder equity committee report. But that is one of the big identifying key indicators, is understanding poverty as well as emotional poverty. And, you know, when I come in and started the work, I was really amazed and overwhelmed with what is all going on and how do we just continue it and culminate it into one comprehensive document, which was that corrective action plan.
Ms. Urban?
I stopped at the behavior refresh last year. I didn't get to stay for very long, but I thought it was really great. And I think it would be really great if we could get more of our staff to show up. And so just putting it out there, if there's a way that we can pay them to go, I would really love that.
Yeah, we ran into budget constraints when we started inviting much more than, I think the first couple years we had, I want to say around 30 to 40 attendees. And when we exceed 100, that obviously amps up the amount. And that is a concern that is expressed by our staff as well. I do know that there are problem solving in the, last year we gave out 5 conferences of their choice that nested well with our pillar work. So we awarded 5 attendees that got to pick from a conference. Some went to Orlando for conscious discipline. I'm not sure where all the others went to. I'd have to default to Ms. Strong because she probably knows that. But so we try to be creative in trying to entice our employees in.
We are currently exploring with the TLI department, allowing teachers and educators who do attend the behavior refresh, the ability to utilize that as our floating PD day. So we are exploring that option as well. So to make it worthwhile for them, knowing of course that the people that do attend that need to be under contract and need to be continuing education contract. So our new teachers would not be eligible the first year. However, we are exploring that option, and it's become, I think, quite popular among our teachers and our administrators to utilize it in that capacity. So they'll still get credit for it in some capacity. Yeah.
And we didn't limit our invites to just teachers. We invited paras, we invited substitutes, clerical. We wanted to make sure if you work with students, you're encountering potential behaviors. And we want to be able to do our best to equip you with skills necessary to encounter those. And to Dr. Strong's, again, Dr. Strong, Ms. Strong's efforts, her team and I got together, and we actually do have a training menu in which we can produce moment's notice. It could be a 15-minute training. It could be a 30-minute half day. Anything that building needs, they can look at that menu and call up myself or Ms. Strong and say, hey, or Ms. Christopher and say, hey, could you come out to our staff meeting on Tuesday or Wednesday and give us X? And we have the ability to do that. Lastly, is what Jamie, you were referring to, is that parent and student informational session. We sent this out in February. It was a team effort. We put together videos. Each of us had a different part to inform our stakeholders in the student and parent area. And as you can see on the slide, we did provide them a link to provide survey. I know most of them went to Kit, and so I'm not sure. I would have to default to her where we're at on getting back to them. Our teachers, our staff also had a survey that they could ask certain questions, and we could get back with them as well. So it allowed us a more efficient way of having two-way conversation because we couldn't be in 22 different places at once, and so this was the most efficient manner to get the information out and still give them the voice to talk with us.
And remind me how we sent it out? Like, did it go to all parent emails or did each school decide how to distribute it?
It was both. Schools could decide, I know, certain schools, correlated it and tagged it on with their parent-teacher conferences. And then, Bobby did send it out to all of our, parents as well to their emails.
Hey, good evening, everybody. My name is Justin Conroy. I'm the Title I-D principal. Thank you for the opportunity to come in and kind of give you some feedback as to the work that we've been doing as far as truancy and the OCR. To preface this, however, I would just like to mention that a lot of the work has been my focus even before the OCR as to working to improve attendance and truancy within our district. Just wanted to mention that. But we have been making some progress throughout the school year, and I appreciate the assistance and support from all of our building principals and our attendance clerical, as well as the staff here, my partners here off to my right. But for the next few slides, I'm just going to provide just some key points, but also some overview as to, I should say, the work, but also the direction that we're going. So I'm just going to be focusing on what we've done thus far on our focus on improving attendance and reducing truancy. I'll also share with you some attendance percentages for the last 3 years, just to kind of give you a visualization as far as what those percentages look like. But also data-driven root cause analysis of absenteeism. Whenever we were first tasked with this, with the OCR, I had previously started to gather qualitative data based off of some root cause analysis for attendance and truancy. But also we wanted to focus on the emphasis on relationships, cultural responsiveness, and collaboration to ensure common practices. So I don't have that many slides, but I just wanted to give you a background here. Okay, so for our root cause analysis and, through the work, like I said, through qualitative data that I gathered, identified chronic absenteeism, not only for the school district, but among our Native American students, as it was influenced by different barriers from historical perspectives, cultural perspectives, socioeconomic perspectives, poverty, transportation, housing instability. Also along with, mentioned that there was a policy passed earlier today as far as a transfer policy. So we often run into several students that will transfer back and forth between reservation schools and Rapid City area school districts. So that was also a root cause as well. I had mentioned peer influences, but also through my conversations was just kind of a lack of cultural connectivity within the building. So, and I know that's a push from the district as far as improving that through the implementation of our OSCUs and the work that the Title VI is currently doing. So I see us progressing in the right direction there.
Dr. Conroy, can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
So when you talk about the transfers, I was wondering that, like, are absences counted, like if the document says they transferred this day, but we don't see them in the building for, say, 4 days, like, are those all considered absences when they're in transition?
So if a student is, let's say we have no idea where the student has gone, they're going to continue to be marked absent until we're notified from the previous school that they're transferring to, until we receive notification from their registrar, and then we'll go back and then we'll document that.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Also, other key points that I found that I looked at too, information I gathered was recognizing the importance of building consistent supportive relationships between students and school staff, just to foster a greater sense of belonging. And earlier in the evening, I believe it was Mrs. Grayhorse who had made that mention from the PAC perspective, or she was a PAC principal, excuse me. But she had mentioned that not only teaching here in the district, but as she goes out to the buildings, how she sees where there's a lot going on there as far as not only cultural building, but just establishing that welcoming feeling whenever individuals go into the building. And I think that's something we want to celebrate, but also want to continue to install within our buildings too, because that is also an area that we can improve on too. Also, let's see here, establish common, consistent practices within the district. So that has been a push that we've looked for. Sorry, I graduated to readers, so I'm off and on here, so. But, so that's something that our push is just to establish common, persistent and consistent practices within the district. Just ranging from what an excused absence is, what are the common practices. So if a student or when a student transfers from one district to the other, or just if it's verified medical. So those are areas that we continue to review. But we've started the conversation as to what are some of the practices going on in buildings. So as part of the root cause analysis, that's what I located. But going into the attendance trends that you can see within the last 3 school years. And again, let me preface this as well. This goes up until April 30th. So the data that you see for this school year and the previous 2 years, I just had mapped it out as if the school year ended April 30th. So we have common data to review and share. So, but if you look at it, we sit at the 90s overall. Our average Native American attendance rate is it's at 84. I'll round it up to 85%. So if you look at some of the other schools with large Native American populations, our total average attendance is pretty well. So that is something to celebrate. But again, there's areas that we can improve upon as well. So does anybody have any questions on any of this before I move on? Okay. All right, go ahead, Tom, please. Thank you. So our next slide is just over data reporting and protocol enhancements. And this kind of tags along with what Tom had done as far as the discipline via the training and so on. But I'll just give you an overview as far as data and reporting improvements, attendance protocols, and the implementation of what we started here was a district-wide attendance team. But as far as data and reporting improvements, we incorporated monthly data updates. So for instance, we're standardized reporting tools via Skyward. And through Skyward, we stepped back, and within the custom forms, each building was providing different attendance percentages. And working with IT and through the through the OCR, where we needed to create a standard practice, that's where we created this form. So now that all buildings, we refer to this standard form. So we're ensuring that we're gathering all the same data and we're sharing the same data. Throughout this past year on a monthly basis, I would share out, monthly, quarterly, semester, I would share out attendance percentage as well to each building principals as well as district leadership. And those that were on the OCR team as well, just so they could see the work and kind of keep track of where our attendance percentages fall as to what you see up there. So we also revisited shared documentation just to ensure consistency across the schools. And that's one thing you're going to pick up on quite a bit is the consistency piece, because that is where we do have work to get done. We have 22 buildings out there. Oftentimes we have turnover within the attendance clerical round, the administrative round, dean of students, all of that. There's a lot of movement. So that's why we need to continue to push to establish some consistency there. So that's the data reporting and what we're looking at. Also did provide some training, which I'll go into a little bit there later on as well. But as far as the attendance protocols, we reviewed and aligned attendance procedures with district policies. And again, this is through conversation with building principals, because as we gather different pieces, like, okay, this building was doing it this way, they weren't doing it wrong, but this is just how they were taught. Other buildings were doing it a little bit differently. So we're trying to bring it in just so we can focus on it just a little bit more in detail. We delivered training sessions for administration and clerical back in fall of 2024. That was when Tom and I partnered. He went over discipline. I reviewed attendance and just the proper procedures as to really when do you mark a student absent, just what you would think, I guess, as a teacher, just the common practice of how you implement attendance. But we reviewed all of that in detail. And we also had additional sessions for faculty, staff, and parents just this past February, so in winter 2025. One area that we've incorporated just 2 years ago is just called it an attendance manual, but it's kind of our go-to manual for individual attendance clerks and administrators. with all of the information ranging from our school protocols, our school policies as to when a student should be filed, as far as the truancy route with their 3, 5, and 8, what are a number of different interventions, a lot of information from attendance work. So it's pretty thick manual that I get out to everybody. And I've received a lot of positive comments on there, but we are going to continue to update, and that will be a yearly push to implement at the beginning of every new school year whenever we provide that additional training to staff and administrators as to what attendance looks like. So that is something that we're also working on too with the attendance protocols. But as I mentioned earlier too, one of the pieces that Director Veit and I have been working on, and we pushed this out truly before April 1st, but we wanted to establish, in order to establish a consistent practice within buildings, we had to establish a district attendance team. So last week, we got together and we had a meeting with elementary on one day. We had several individuals come in, middle school and then high school. And we were gathering data from what was their common practice, that what they were incorporating within each of their building. And we stepped away with one thing, was looking for consistency, looking for support, looking for training. So we really did gather quite a bit from that, which we're going to be working on over the summertime. Not over the summer, we're starting now, but it's going to continue throughout the summer. But whenever we get back in August, we're going to be presenting some good information to all of the administrators and new clerical and current clerical too, just because we wanted to, it's important. So the teams include district representatives from each building level. We wanted to establish a cross-level team to address attendance challenges through MTSS and RTI frameworks. But the push here, the goal is to aim to improve consistency, communication, and intervention efforts across elementary, middle, and high schools. And again, that's the push there, is because we can do it. We just need to, again, right now, sometimes I always use the upside down funnel. So you're always going to see me working with my hands right here. So we start here, we're going to push it down here, okay? And right now we're about here, but we gather some good data to really push forward there. So, and then my last slide that I have is just as we move forward with our next steps, is that we want to do a better job really celebrating our attendance. So as we go into the school year, we want to really look at September as Attendance Awareness Month. We want to reach out to our community. We want to highlight the importance of daily attendance. We want to educate families and community on the importance of attendance. Maybe we could collaborate with different businesses, maybe the local government, maybe anybody that wishes to get involved. But we just want to foster that community partnership with business organizations to promote a positive school culture, but promote the importance of school attendance. So that's also a push that we're going to get off. We started it last summer, but with everything going on, we just didn't get to it. We had the billboards, obviously, but we're going to do a little bit more in detail just to really get out there and do a social media push and so on. Targeted intervention programs. I would also like to, this past year, working with the State's Attorney's Office, we established a truancy intervention program that was piloted at Central. And it's a work in progress, and it's based off of truancy court when I worked with Miss Urban a few years ago, right? And but it's based off of that philosophy. But this is trying to make it a little more positive without the fact that leaving the court off, but trying to provide interventions to families that are truly struggling, and really what is the concern, or why is it a struggle for their students to get to school? So we're going to try to provide more resources and so on, so that we're going to look at implementing that at different buildings as well. So that's a work in progress too. But overall, we just want to continue to provide ongoing intervention development. We're focusing on those tailored interventions to support individual student success and strengthen communication and training to ensure consistent application for all of our students with the big focus on our Native students. So that's what I have.
Is there any thought, and I feel like I keep asking these, like, loaded questions, for lack of a better term. So with our grant that theoretically allotted for some social work support, could that possibly help support some of that truancy? Looking at truancy and absenteeism, would that be a place that would provide some support to what you guys are already doing, or maybe that doesn't fit?
Well, the grant that we received is a school-based mental health grant. And so we just have to ensure that we stay within the parameters and the guidelines of that. However, we also know that if we have students who are experiencing a high truancy rate, that there is usually some underlying health issues there. So they would marriage well. It's just a matter of writing an amendment to some different job descriptions, but that absolutely would be a component for that.
So, thank you. Oh, Ms. Stephenson.
So we didn't have a district-wide attendance team before this, is that right?
No.
No, we have not, no.
No, and that was one of the required factors within that OCR agreement. So we were able to do that big lift last week and to be able to carry it forward. So just like Dr. Conroy was saying, we were able to get information on what is current practice, what do you need help on, and how do we refine it to be able to get more consistent.
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, I don't think our district has an attendance problem district-wide. I mean, it seems like it's just an ongoing thing. I mean, the whole country has every school in the country has an attendance problem. And anything that's working, I feel like should be shared, and it does feel like we should all be inputting data the same way, and so that we are comparing apples to apples.
Good evening, board. I'm going to share the advanced learning opportunities. Our advanced learning opportunities team consisted of Director Roberts and Jamie Strasser and a few other of our team members from across the district. So when we looked at the advanced learning opportunities that were outlined under the resolution, we knew that we had to revamp and revise some of the policies and procedures for the advanced learning opportunities for all students at our secondary levels or middle school and high school opportunities. So when we looked at these policies, we looked at the grade acceleration policy, which the IGBB you approved tonight. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. And then the test out policy, which also you approved as well. So we are moving forward with this work regardless of the suspension of the requirement for this. We are still moving forward with great resolve and great dedication, knowing that this is really what's best for kids across the board. With the policies and procedures, we also worked very diligently to remove as many barriers as possible to make these advanced learning opportunities available to all students, regardless of their socioeconomic ability to take the advanced learning opportunity coursework, regardless of their travel, regardless of their technological needs. We worked diligently as a district to remove as many barriers as possible to make the opportunities as equitable, as fair, so that all students had the opportunity to take as many as they were able or as many as they liked. We also looked at our record keeping policies and procedures in Skyward, knowing that sometimes the record keeping didn't match what we had in Skyward versus what was occurring at the university level, knowing that when our students leave our high schools, regardless of the three high schools, when they leave the three high schools, that they could take these transcripts with them and attend any of the universities in our border regions or in South Dakota or surrounding states, so that we were all talking the same talk to set them up for success, and they weren't meeting barriers when they went off to post-secondary. So with these, again, more work that was being done, we also looked at the advanced learning data and are reviewing it, continue to review it on a regular basis. What we found is that we were required in the resolution to mail out letters to every student in middle school and high school of the advanced learning opportunities. We as a district took that a step further, and those letters, we received almost 800 letters back in the mail from either not found at this address or no longer at this address or address doesn't exist, whatever the reasons were. We received almost 800 letters back. At that time, Jamie Strasser, bless her sweetheart, set up time to go into the schools and meet with these students one-on-one
to have conversations, to say, here's the opportunities that are available for you, set up times to meet with different parents, set up times to really communicate out to these students that every student can take these, every student is eligible, every student has the right to really provide equity and provide opportunity across the district to all of our kiddos. Again, removing more barriers. So students felt that it was a safe place, that you didn't have to be the smartest kiddo in class. Everybody can take an advanced learning opportunity course and be successful. Also putting in place structures that by the end of the course or close to the end of the course, if the students were not on track or on par to succeed, that we put structures in place to provide extra tutoring, to provide extra support, academic support in place for every student to succeed by the end of the semester, to experience success. We also removed any barriers that would, financial barriers that would keep students from taking advanced learning opportunities, and also revamped the rights to appeal, which now is available online on our website for any student and any parent to go through that repeal process. Publicly available data was one of the components that was also required by the resolution. Many of these we have already been doing, and we will continue to support and continue to provide public data. The director of TLI for the last 4 years has presented to the Title VI Parent Advisory Committee twice a year, reporting out the Native American data to the PAC. So the PAC receives that twice a year. All Board of Education and PAC meetings are open to the public. So of course, publicly available data, anything that we share is available. The largest data source that's available publicly is our report card that is disseminated by the state, by the South Dakota Department of Education. That report card can be found on a link, very accessible. You can search actually any state or any school report card in the state of South Dakota. If you go onto the South Dakota Department of Education, that report card, it disseminates all information K-12 of our students. It doesn't receive the students, it doesn't do the individual student, but you can go onto any school and look at that school report card as well as the district report card. You can look at our literacy scores, our math scores, our science scores. You can look at our graduation rates. You can look at our attendance rates. You can look at all of that. All that has been public through the state of South Dakota SD STARS since 2006 and will continue to be made public. We also make that public, that link is public by law, must be made public on our webpage as well as the school pages according to Title I. And if that link is not made public, then we are not in compliance of our title funding. Our student pillar report card has also been made available through our board meetings, as well as our publicly reported survey data, which Dr. Strasser is going to report a little bit tonight. And then our school-wide plans are of course made public on every school page, and our comprehensive needs plan is made available on our district site. So we have a lot of publicly available data by law, and that has been made available and will continue to be made available to the public.
Quick question, Dr. Strong. So really impressive, the outreach on all the returned mail. In my mind, that's clearly not sustainable and feasible. So what's like the next, next year, when, if you send them all by mail and 200 come back?
So we also send them out by email, and then every student email and every parent email that's available in Skyward, they also receive a link and accessibility to that as well. So, and then we're also providing training to other resources, our counselors, and during various capacities to support Mrs. Strasser in this, leading this work, so that we can ensure every student is met at some point and receives this information and opportunity.
I can also add on that. So the requirement was mail, which was very spendy, approximately $8,000. And if you think about it, 800 were approximately 800. They're all in my office, returned undeliverable. However, going back to that stakeholder equity committee, and I know that's not the focus of tonight, and I realize we've been presenting for a while, and we still have about 6 more slides to get through, because this is work that's just been going on for a year, so we're trying to highlight and touch the importance of it and how we're carrying it forward. But with the Stakeholder Equity Committee, one of the suggestions is Reels. We're in a digital era and, you know, that 30-second reel. And so how do we think outside of the box, and how do we really hook and grab the attention of our stakeholders? So that is suggestions we'll be moving forward. And how does next year look different versus that snail mail? Because even though so many were delivered, how many were opened? So one of the biggest lifts within my work so far has been the public complaint process, which is in revision. If you take a look at the right, this is the most thing I am proud of the work I've done here at Rapid City Area Schools is public complaint policy KL is one, accessibility within the process and the procedures. People had to come to the district and get a PDF and then hand deliver this completed PDF when it's 2025 and we are trying to lead a digital era within our learners, as well as we should have accessibility for our stakeholders. So if you go to the website and just search in public complaint, you'll be able to get a digital form to be able to email, and it's really spelled out explicitly on the process and the steps. We also have a complaint assistant form on our website that does go to Gary Emanuel and myself. So let's say a parent or a stakeholder just is unsure. Does it meet KL or not? They can fill it out, and then either Gary or I will get in contact with them on what their next step should be, because one, voices need to be heard. Feedback come in positive and in negative manner. So bringing forward public policy KL is the revisions is timelines. So there was a certain timeline that a complaint would submit the complaint, and then there was no timeline for that initial investigation. Timeline on when they could appeal, a timeline for the superintendent to present, and the timeline to the board to act. However, there was no timeline for responsiveness. So if we are going to give an avenue for feedback, which is a complaint, there really needs to be that responsive of when are we going to find a resolution. So that's the biggest revision that you'll see within public policy KL. And then also the distribution of KLE2. That is the notification of who the complaint is on. So when the public complaint coordinator receives it, there is 5 days to notify who the complaint is on. So they have that awareness. However, we have never given them the notice of if it's resolved or not. So we may have an employee who is sitting here for months. What is the outcome? And so now it really forces us to be able to have that communication with all involved within a specific complaint. The other biggest revision is clarity on school-based law enforcement complaints.
One of the ways we can measure progress is through our annual school climate surveys. This is something that we will continue to do. This is something you've heard me talk a lot about. A couple of examples, things that you've seen already in previous meetings, but we want to utilize this information both at the district level, but also in our buildings. We conduct rollouts. A lot of the action steps that come out of these roll right into school improvement plans, which is super important. A lot of the questions that we get from here are also used, excuse me, as part of our district comprehensive needs assessment for our federal programs. So this information is super important, and we're going to keep doing this year over year. And I think that'll give us a great picture. And of course, we're super excited because so far this year, everything that we've brought forward has been a positive improvement, which is great for our district.
The next component is the SRO program. One big heavy lift within this area of the OCR agreement is the revised memorandum of understanding. With that MOU revision is really identifying that the building administrator is the discipline decision maker within that building, not the SRO. The SRO supports the building administrator. The SRO handles criminal concerns that occur with either in that building or on campus. Because the SRO's primary duty is how we see that with the revision is building relationships, not only with our students, our parents, our community, and our staff members. And how we're really doing that SRO relationship building is the do more concept, which is be approachable. Mr. Sargent has really required not only his SROs, but as well as our security staff to what more are you interested in? For example, Mr. Sargent is really passionate about wrestling. Well, how can he bring his passion more to the students? So he helps with wrestling matches, practices, and whatnot. We have some SRO or security guards who one of their passion is singing. So they do help in that building's choir and sing with our students. We have a central SRO who is a former D1 football player. He is volunteering as the assistant football coach. We have another one volunteering with golf. We also have a SRO security person who is fly fishing and teaching our students on how to fly fish. So that concept has really changed as really an authoritative disciplinarian figure within our district to now more as relationship building.
All right, to bring this to a wrap, when we walked through it, really didn't think it would take this much, but we're bringing a year's worth of work into one report. And hopefully you see the value in what we've done. I put commitment to excellence here because I think that is something that as a district, we really are striving for, because when we strive for that, then our kids are the benefactors. And through all the things that we've shown and laid out here, we believe we're on the right track. Obviously, we're not satisfied, but this is, to me, the bringing together of really establishing a high quality culture and environment for our kids with strategy and how we can continue to carry out education as a highly reliable organization. So that is our report tonight.
Ms. Urban.
I'm going to be really fast because I know everyone's tired. I just want to say, because I think I've gotten the question a ton, like, are you continuing with the OCR report? Don't stop this work. And I think after this report, we can confidently say that work served all kids. It was important. It was something that should have been done. Some of it was already in motion. And so I think if anyone takes anything away from that, it's that this is important work. We're not stopping, and it's going to serve all kids.
Ms. Stephenson.
I couldn't agree more. I really like when I hear that discipline was recorded 22 different ways for 22 different schools. I just like, how can we be better if we don't have baseline data and like an organized system? I think it sounds like an incredible amount of work for one school year, and I'm super appreciative of that. The big question moving forward that I have, or not, it's just a big question that I've been thinking about as you've been presenting. I think a lot of the work that you've been doing has been really policy wise and data. Does it align, not knowing what the stakeholder committee recommendation or report was, does that align with what the stakeholders felt, or were the stakeholders, did they have different concerns? or suggestions or what needed to happen?
It was pretty even. For example, one of their recommendations, so how we did that, I was bouncing in between different groups, so I wasn't even aware of it at the time. And then I had Miss Bobby Joe reach out to me around the same time on, hey, we have the syllabi literacy, how do we make that, which she'll get more into tonight. So it was amazing to see how things aligned and become practice. If someone was thinking about it, and then I would go to a building or bring it to a leadership, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's already in progress.
So do you think stakeholders, for example, if they're listening to tonight's report, are they gonna say, yes, what I brought up has been addressed?
I think with the stakeholder equity report, so there was like quotes around certain things. So when I am saying, like syllabi literacy, I'm taking around the verbiage and just taking the main topic of certain key identifications. We'll be bringing to you forward certain items that they specifically have recommended within that report on, I would say about 35% of the recommendations are already completed. I would say about 80% are in progress, and then the rest, we really as a leadership team need to bring forward on how do we specifically bring that recommendation. For example, and that's, help with policy, that really is policy. I'm thinking one of the recommendations is really identifying family terms within the Native American structure. One, can we identify that now with the new federal mandates? So those are things that aren't immediate things that we can get completed as a district.
All right, President Carr.
Okay, have to unmute. Thank everyone for the hard work and all the reports that we received on tonight. Dr. Strasser, I was in the last PAC meeting. We had talked, or there was conversation about receiving the stakeholder committee report, and I assumed that it was done and that we would have it tonight. Is it completed for us to receive it? And if not, can we get a date of when we will receive it?
Yeah, I think we can share that out and do so soon so that you all have that. Yes.
Okay. It's late and I don't mean to bother, but what does soon mean?
I can get it to you this week.
We can get it to you tomorrow.
How about tomorrow?
Okay, thank you very much. I also, I think I want to state for the record that it's very important for us all to understand that the presentation that we heard tonight was the culmination of the work that was done since the agreement that we entered into with the OCR. And I think I would like to say that just as diligent and as we were in cooperating with the OCR in this report, I also think that it's important to say that we will also comply with the cancellation of the agreement. And that does not mean that, in my mind, that we are going backwards. I think under the pillar of student success, that what works, we will keep, and it will keep working. And there was also conversations in the last PAC meeting that the PAC board will, there may be some room and areas for the PAC board to take a more assertive or impactful effort in the things that can be done to help the 32% of our students. And so I don't want the community or anybody who would want to use that the presentation to say that we are not fully complying with all of the federal mandates that have been given to us.
Thank you very much, President Carr. Seeing no other hands, thank you guys very much. I know that was a lot of hard work. You guys already work long days and it's an even longer day, so we really appreciate that commitment and your time and all of your hard work to better things for all of our students. We will move on to C, the seal of biliteracy with Ms. Bobby Joe. I'll say
Oh, it's on still. Okay, perfect. So Bobby Jo Donovan, College and Career Readiness Manager for the district. So I wanted to bring this forward, a more formal copy of the seal of biliteracy. So I know this has been mentioned by Dr. Strasser previously. I believe Jen Roberts has mentioned it. It is in our guidebooks as well, but I feel like we've got a much better process put together. What you have in front of you is actually an updated one than what's on the website, because there was just one change that came in Sunday evening, and I wanted to make sure that it was included for you today. So the seal of biliteracy, per the state of South Dakota, is for students who have attained a high-level proficiency in one or more languages above the English language. Initially, there's several steps that students would go through in order to attain the seal of biliteracy. The first step, though, is to show proficiency in English language arts. And so you can see at the top of page 1, the two main areas that it would be used would be the state ELA assessment, knowing that this was the last year to use that, but that score would be used. Moving forward, it would be just the ACT, as that will replace our state assessment beginning in the 25-26 school year. And then the second piece for the second or more language that they want to attain, there's multiple options for students to attain that or to show proficiency within that language. The most common one is going to be through an AP exam. And so we already offer that. A second assessment, if we don't maybe offer it or they want to have another way to assess or show proficiency, is an acronym ACTFL. And you can see off to the right that it's pretty minimum cost-wise to take that assessment. And then the piece that has been developed a little bit more than what you're going to see in the guidebook that is currently on the website and given to students is regarding the Lakota reading and writing proficiency assessment. And so working with the Office of Indian Education, we were able to compile what proficiency looks like and being able to read, write, and also speak Lakota. And so you will see that. And we worked pretty closely with Red Cloud, who has been very successful in implementing the seal of biliteracy within their students or their school for their students. So we took a little bit of what they used for their proficiency level to determine what would be adequate for our students as well. And so on page 2, you can see, for those of you with the copies, the oral proficiency was added. That was something that Marie Heiber and Ira Taken Alive really wanted to make sure that that was included, that we did not have initially. So that's really the seal of biliteracy in a nutshell. What's really cool is, as I was kind of prepping for this tonight, I got a letter in the mail, and we have one student for this school year that is going to be taking the Spanish AP exam that has applied to be a recipient of or to attain the seal of biliteracy. And so I submitted the request per the state for that seal, and I received them in the mail today. And so it was kind of cool to actually see it. That is a question that has come up, and it's explained in here, but if a student takes the AP exam, we don't get their scores until typically midsummer. And so that student would actually receive the seal once we know what their score is and can confirm that they have reached that proficiency in both English and
the second language. If they do the actual exam or the Lakota exam, we can potentially have that for them by graduation to where they could actually, we could adhere it to their diploma. Regardless, they'll have it. The state actually also did just mention today when I received the seals for the student for this year, that there's a certificate that we can also provide the student. So I think looking at it, we're thinking that there'll be some type of something maybe in the graduation program. We'll work with the high schools that shows that students are a candidate for the seal of biliteracy, since we can't celebrate that until the middle of summer. So any questions I can answer?
Can I add on to that, Bobby Joe? So I just came back from a Rural America Initiative summit. And though we know seal of biliteracy is available in all 50 states, in order for there to be a true seal of biliteracy for a non-English language, there has to be standards, and standards that are approved and adopted by the state and recognized as a seal of biliteracy language. Right now, there's only a handful of states in the nation that have standards for their native languages in their states. And South Dakota is one of the few that's actually leading the nation, not only in the standards. We just, as you know, adopted our second set of standards. We also have lesson plans around that. And so in order to offer a seal of biliteracy, you have to have teachers who are proficient also in that language to assess. And Rapid City is that. Rapid City right now is, I believe, the only town in South Dakota that has the capacity, not on the reservation. Excuse me, I should clarify that, not on the reservation, to offer a seal of biliteracy in Lakota, because we have the certified staff members to offer that. And when our Lakota language team presented last week at the Rural America Summit on what we were doing, leading the nation in our Lakota, many towns and states from across the nation had no idea this was even possible. So this really is a proactive initiative that Rapid City Area Schools is moving in this direction to offer a seal of biliteracy in Lakota, which will cover Lakota, Nakota, and Dakota eventually.
I'd also like to add is when we were deciding what were the measures, we did get meaningful consultation with the Great Plains Tribal Ed directors so they can be able to provide input because we do see the students going back and forth and really wanting to honor those tribal ed directors that work in their tribes.
All right. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
We're down to committee reports. Does anyone have a burning desire to make a committee report? Anyone? That's a no. Okay. Is there anyone who has a burning desire to comment in other? All right, Ms. Stephenson, fire away.
I'm going to be really quick. I just want to say it's staff and teacher appreciation week. I'd just like to echo what Dr. Strasser said. I've been reflecting a lot on this quote lately that Maya Angelou said, that people won't remember what you did or what you say, but they'll remember how they made you feel. And every day I feel like my own daughters go to this district and they are made to feel talented and special and loved in all sorts of different ways. And I'm so thankful for that on a personal level in my family. And then when I visit schools, you can just feel it. You can just tell that people are working really hard to make kids feel special and loved and like they belong. And I'm really appreciative of that. And even though it's late, I wanted to say it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Berkland.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention our facilities master plan presentation on Thursday at Central High School in the new theater, as Shirley informed me many times when I messed it up the other day, at 6:30. So I hope to see everyone there to learn about all the hard work that everyone's been doing to put that together.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Berkland. And I would really quickly echo Ms. Stephenson and just say I appreciate a lot of schools do staff appreciation. And, it is on paper teacher appreciation, but we know that every single person in this district impacts our kids. And so thank you to all of them, from bus drivers to buildings to teachers to custodial staff, everybody. We thank every single one of you And just to remind, there are so many events. If go on the website, so much is happening in May. Choir concerts, band concerts, honors convocations, graduation, softball games, tracks. So if anyone who has time, has a kid, go out and cheer those kids on. I know it's hard towards the end of the year, but they are all still working really hard, and our staff is working really hard to support them in those activities. So please get out there and support them in whatever way you can. And we're about to have beautiful 80-degree weather, so it's a beautiful time to support all those outdoor activities as well. If that is all the others, then I would take a motion to move into executive session, 1-25, 2.1 and 2.0. Oh, President Carr has a hand up.
No, I just, after we make the motion and the second, I have a discussion for the exec session.
Okay. So on that, do I have a motion?
Second.
It has been motioned and seconded to move into executive session. Any discussion?
Mr. Sassy, I think initially you were excused from executive session, but we need you at the first part of the session, and then you'll be able to go home early after that. So.
All right. That being said, it has been motioned and seconded. Sheila, can I get a roll call, please?
Troy Carr,
Yes.
Jamie Clapham,
Yes.
Christine Stephenson.
Yes.
Donna Moore,
Yes.
Michael Berglund,
Yes.
and Katie Urban.
Yes.
6-0.
Excellent. Motion passes 6-0. No votes or decisions will be made, and team, we will log out of this one and log into the executive session.